Jessi picked me up, and then we drove with our mom up there. And I don't know what it is, because our dad does this too, and I'm assuming because they do it, there are probably a lot of other parents in that age range, in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s age range, that just hate GPS. Like they are just raging against maps and Google Maps. They will not. They got like personally offended. Did you hear when I was like, no, Mom, it's. I was like, no, it's going to go this way. She's like, I know how to get to Newtown.
I just prefer this way. So, but she was getting upset. So when I actually, when I went out west, I said, Dad, you'd be so proud of me. I actually used maps. And he was like, okay. I was like, because you said,
look, Father, show me love. No. That's I kid. He's a very loving guy.
He is, but wait.
He's hard to impress, though.
But we're driving, and he's like, well, I'm looking at this map. He's got this map out. He's got his glasses. He's fumbling around. I'm like, Dad, I'll just put in the GPS. And he goes, we have a map, Jessi. And what are you going to do if we don't have service? I'm like, I've never had that happen.
It doesn't really work that way. I don't know what it is. Why parents of that era are so angry.
And I love it. I love GPS because I get distracted. So Josh goes, why don't you just have your GPS on like everybody else? And I was like, you'll see.
Yeah. Oh. Well, what was funny was, what I was getting to is, so getting up there was a thing. Yeah. But then, and a little frightening too, because from the back seat, she'll be like, wait, just, get off. Wait, no, don't. This exit, is it this exit? Oh, I don't know if it's it. You're like, am I going straight?
I'm like, I'm skirting the shoulder.
I'm like, it says to go straight.
I'm like that guy from Speed. Oh, shit.
So that's going on. But then what was funny was the way back. On the way back, at one point, we had the GPS that was going fine, but then we were involved in some discussion, and I was supposed to be navigating, and I didn't. I failed. I did not, and apparently it wasn't on to be like, you should turn now. So I missed it, and we kept going, and all of a sudden, Mom's like, you missed it. We're going to Philadelphia.
Oh, here we go. We're going to Philadelphia.
Now we're going to Philadelphia.
Oh, my God. Just get off. Wait. Don't. Jessi, please.
This was the beginning. Just get out. I was like, Mom, it's okay. I'm just going to put it in and I'll pay better attention this time. And so I put the thing in and it starts saying, exit here. And then she's like, okay, you're going to want to exit here. And I honestly don't think she was hearing it and repeating it.
She was
But she
echoing.
basically just starts talking over it with similar directions. She's like, okay, you're going to go down to this light, go past this stoplight, and make a left. Okay, so after this light, you're going to make a left, and please go left. Okay, go left here. And then I think you're going to go to, and this exit's going to, and you're just like, what the heck? You know that kinship you feel when someone gets the obscure movie quote you tossed out in a conversation? Bossa Nova! Chevy Nova? Welcome to Such a Good One! A podcast where two siblings bond over their unabashed love for the movies they grew up on. I'm Josh Cook.
And I'm Jessi Cook.
Come digress with us. We do kind of have to get to it because this is the first movie we're doing that's starring
Michael Keaton.
Michel Keaton.
I don't think he would like that. Anyway,
Is that how they say his name?
I wrote this down, and it's true on the second page of my notes.
What is this?
I took notes.
What are you in third grade?
I said
what is this?
Keaton's eyebrows were never so important, and it's true.
As in the Dream Team?
Oh, this film, The Dream Team.
Oh yeah, we're the Dream Team.
Oh,
people know that though because they clicked on it. The Dream Team. 1989. Which, by the way, did you know this is the same year that Batman came out?
Wow, he was really powerhouse.
And Back to the Future 2.
What about Pacific Heights?
I don't know when that came out. I think that was early 90s.
Good.
But
you know that movie?
But Back to the Future 2 came out this year also. So Christopher Lloyd was in this and Back to the Future 2.
Yes.
And Michael Keaton was in this and Batman in the same year.
Ooh, I didn't write this down, but interesting. Moving on to my point.
Let's go.
I love kind of a
Pardon me.
Yeah, hedge. As Christopher Lloyd was so amazing in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a little pretend in my mind, like maybe this is him like years later. And he's a little bit better.
a lot of stuff online points out certain connections between One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like where it's like Christopher Lloyd's in this, and then also Michael Keaton's playing a similar-ish character to the Nicholson character.
Also, they have very similar eyebrows.
They do have similar eyebrows.
It's a thing. Did they ever
Which
play
is interesting.
like they've never played as if they were related? Like they've never been.
No, but the same year they were in Batman.
Oh shoot!
Where he's the Joker.
Oh, that's right.
So it's like an eyebrow orgy. Oh.
They have they have like the it's a walk off, but it's an eyebrow off.
It's a walk off.
It's a walk off. It's a walk off.
Zip it, Zane. Also in Back to the Future 2.
I heard that your daughter told me that you like Back to the Future 2 more than the first one.
That's not fair to say. I love, they're like equal. I love them both so much. Well, because Back to the Future is just such a, it's just such a great movie. There's nothing bad you can really even say about it. But the second one, I'm kind of in love with the filmmaking of the second one. Like how all of the clever moments. We were just saying downstairs, actually, when I was having dinner with Keelan and Alicia, we were just talking about it because she's super into Back to the Future right now. Mm-hmm. And as a good example, it's like at the end of Back to the Future 2, when it gets struck by lightning in the air, the time machine, and it disappears, and the flag falls to the ground, and Marty's in the 50s, and he's like, oh, and it's pouring rain, and he's looking around, and the camera has this great swooping kind of crane move, and it comes around on him, and behind him you see these headlights pulling up in the distance, and this car stops, and you're like, what is this? Is it Lloyd, Christopher Lloyd? No. And this guy gets out, and he walks up in a trench coat. He's like, are you Martin McFly? And remember, he just saw the time machine disappear. He's trapped in the 50s, and it's like he's trying to figure it out, and he's like, yeah. And this guy walks up, and he pulls out this paper, and he hands him this envelope, and he's like, I'm from Western Union. We've had this letter in our office since whatever date, 1855. We've had specific instructions to deliver this on the night of November 5th, 1955. And we had a pool going if Martin McFly would be here. And you're like, it's just so clever that he would disappear and then immediately a telegram arrives that Doc Brown sent from 1855 where he was sent to. It's just, why are you bored? This is so cool. It's great movie making. Woohoo!
This is like...
Wahoo!
Oh, no. I don't like that part either.
Why? That was from Harry and the Hendersons.
I know what it's from.
Da-dum, bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Enough! Stop!
It was interesting.
Silencio.
It's a little too much for me. It's a little like when people try to explain how to play a board game, and I'm like, oh.
No. Yeah, I have never been so bored in my life when people try to explain like the really hip, cool board games in that world. Because it's an hour or two of directions, and there's 3,000 pieces and 58 million cards, and you're just like... Well, I feel like I overthink. My mind is constantly running. So after about 2 minutes, I'm like, I don't have room for this. Yeah, I was just telling you about Back to the Future 2, which you specifically asked me about, and I saw about 30 to 45 seconds in, you were just like, click, and it went off. The brain went off, the squirrel died.
Too much information.
Well, then don't ask me questions.
I didn't. I just
about
said
things that I get excited
about. It wasn't a question.
Like Back to the Future 2.
It was a statement. But
I don't think it was.
I think it was a statement. Remember that time? Okay, so our dad also, he's very...
I hate you.
So our dad is also, he's a really weird combination of he's a gentle soul, but also very competitive. So we really didn't win many games as children, but I won Scrabble like once in my entire life, and he took a picture of it and framed it, which sounds nicer than it is, but really, I mean, I think usually I got like an 80 and he got like a 460 or something.
Well, why don't you think of it this way? He took a picture and framed it to commemorate the one time.
I know. I'm saying that's great.
No. He's saying it to show you every time that's the only time you've won.
But is he also
flipped it?
But he's also the one where he wins, but you can't even enjoy the anger because he's like, you did such a great job. You kind of want someone to win and be like, ha ha ha.
Is he still doing that to you now?
I don't play games anymore. I have no time for that.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't think he said you did such a good job, like since we were very young. So I don't know.
Do
you still go there and play games? He's like, good job. I say, thank you. Are you excited about that? You are.
Now all I can think about is Boggle. You pop the plastic thing, right? Well, remember Crossfire? Love that.
Yes,
Never
I do
knew how to
remember
play.
Crossfire.
I just like
And
playing.
Hungry Hippos.
I like that. I like the human version. I like the human version of that, where you hold someone's feet up, like, and you're supposed to grab balls and such. Although, that's hard to do because you have one arm. Oh, are you on a rolling thing? You're on a scooter, maybe? Like they're holding your feet, you're on a scooter, and you're scooping the balls, cupping.
In your life, sometimes do you just like start talking, people just kind of stare at you, you just keep talking until you just pass out? Or
mostly, yeah.
Mostly me?
Because you don't find me entertaining or funny.
I do. I do find you entertaining and funny.
You don't wanna
But I
watch
find it
my
especially
video
entertaining and
that I
funny when I don't respond to you, and then you're just like, yeah, look at me dance. Look at me dance.
That was an ugly comment. Okay. The Dream Team.
Some movie posters for this film featured a long blurb that read, "This morning, they were playing ping pong in the hospital rec room. Now they're lost in New York and framed for murder. This was never covered in group therapy. The Dream Team, 4 guys on a field trip to reality."
I don't know about the reality part, but yeah. But it's adorable.
I've never seen you have this pages of notes before.
Sometimes I get lost and I forget the order. So
Okay.
I put Albert P. Brake, Dr. W. witnesses a crime.
Oh, so
Put
you were
this in your report.
so you were going through.
Open the door, get on the floor. Everybody walk the dinosaur.
That song is so sticks in my head, man. Oh, it is nuts.
Okay, anyway, can you tell me some more things before everyone falls asleep?
Oh my gosh, you are in an aggressive mood this afternoon. You are this
Anyway,
evening. You are in an aggressive mood. Why are you so aggressive?
We've got Albert, who is nonverbal, except for mimicking television shows. Batter up, swing and a miss. We got Peter Boyle playing McDermott. I don't remember his first name right now. Jack McDermott. We've got Christopher Lloyd playing Henry, and Michael Keaton playing William Caulfield.
Do you want to
also
explain
called
your obsession
Billy.
with Michael Keaton?
I don't think I need to. I think it speaks for itself. Michael Keaton.
Do you say he's your favorite actor?
Probably. He's in everything he's in is beautiful. He's amazing. He's got all the expressions. He's cute. He's funny.
He's got all the expressions.
He does. He has all the expressions. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Love that one. I want to read for you some snippets.
Could you do it faster?
From the Dream Team, Roger Ebert's movie review of April 7th.
Is it good or bad?
1989.
It should be good.
I want you to find out.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right, I'm ready.
So we talk about the synopsis and how they're going to go see a baseball game. Okay. Then he goes, "This is not a bad starting place for a movie, but the filmmakers aren't unable to devise anything original for the patients to do once they've been set free, and so the movie immediately comprises its original inspiration and turns into another one of those lockstep plot pictures where you're asked to care about developments that are manufactured, false, and contrived."
Hold on. So he's basically saying they don't think of anything creative for them.
Yes.
Jack McDermott ends up at a Baptist church and it ends up singing and stripping naked. That's original. Although I always wondered how Henry found him in there. Henry goes to a bar. He's picking stuff up off the ground. He gets thrown out. Then he goes to see his wife and child, and it's very sweet. We learn a lot about. I don't understand why this is unoriginal.
I know.
Lorraine Bracco is so pretty.
I didn't realize you were going to be in such an aggressive mood. I'm afraid to read this to you now, but that's what
I'm just saying he's wrong.
They
That's
basically
not
are saying
correct.
there's a nice energy to it. There's a good setup. He's fat. They talk about these
you like
characters,
my
what they
sweatshirt?
are. Yes.
It has mozzarella sticks on it.
Oh, I can see. Also, it says mozzarella sticks. In case you didn't see it.
Keep going.
Okay. They talk about up until the doctor gets knocked out, which, we're going to go through all this, but and he says at this point,
I love when he's beating him up in the thing and he goes, "Albert!" And you're like, why?
yeah, I don't know.
He runs into the door and he's like so freaked out looking for the guy Albert, who's by the way wearing a bright red Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, it's very
And he
confusing.
sees these guys roughing up this dude who's got a gun to his head and he goes, "Albert!" And you're
feel
like,
like-
that's not Albert.
I feel like there was a problem in the edit there. There was some things cut out that they were like, it'll be fine.
All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
It's at this point the movie takes a fatal turn toward the conventional. An ambitious, daring film would have seriously asked itself, what might happen next? What experiences and adventures might these four men really have? And then it would follow them together or separately down the byways of city life and as each encounter reality through his own special sieve.
What?
The Dream Team is not ambitious and daring, unfortunately, and so it plugs us into a pre-assembled murder plot involving some bad cops.
That's so dumb.
I despair when I see films like this.
Oh, stop.
They must
Please
mean...
Stop. Please stop.
They must mean that the filmmakers have no faith in the curiosity and intelligence of the average film goer.
It's the opposite. I think
Have we truly arrived at the point where the average movie does not dare to surprise, explore, and experiment? By the way, I kind of feel like we have now. We're there now at this point, 2024. Our American movie audience is so hostile to anything out of the ordinary that a movie must follow the well-trod path of identikit storylines and retread plots.
I don't understand what's not original about this story.
Yeah, and then he talks about
It's
how
great.
everyone's talented and it's just not great.
Well, guess who's also not great?
The Dream Team is essentially a formula picture filled with missed opportunities. The fact that it has several passages that really work and that the actors create characters we can care about only underlies the bankruptcy of its imagination. Now, I generally think Roger Ebert's a very smart guy, but I don't really agree with this review at all.
Don't agree with it. It's garbage.
Oh, jeez.
Shots
fired.
I have 2 columns. This is like a Cornell note situation. So this is the timeline. And
I can't hear you.
Oh, and these are the quotations and the funny things. Like, it's the little stuff. I just think it was an original thing. The only background we don't pick up on is Albert. But
Albert, yeah. Look, is it a perfect movie? No. Is it a really fun, great movie to watch?
This is why you don't read
And
reviews.
the thing is, though, after reading that review, I was thinking about it. I was like, what does make... And watching this movie too, I was like, well, what is it that's an interesting movie? It's like, I think it's a great premise. It really is. It's a great premise. You know, you have 4 patients, usually in a mental institution, who are let loose in New York all of a sudden, left to their own devices. And it's like, it's a great setup.
the only thing that doesn't make sense is how they find each other again. Oh, they get back to the...
Look, there's a lot that doesn't make sense in the movie, but it doesn't matter because because what's so great is the characters, and like that really is the reason you're going to a movie. Like, yes, you want to see a good story, but the good story is really nothing if the characters aren't interesting. And he says in the review the characters are great and that the actors are all great, and it's like I think that's the most important thing. And so I love this movie. I watch it again and again and again. Do you remember when you saw this when you were a kid? Like,
I don't.
What age? I don't either.
I don't. I want to say 10.
How many times do you think you've seen this movie in your life?
Oh, well, I probably watch it 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh, okay.
Maybe more. Let's go 80 to 100. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
I also love the opening of this movie. It starts out with this. It's very eerie and kind of haunting. It fades in, and there's this old man who's like in a hospital gown, sitting on a stool in a hallway, playing the accordion, singing "Dream of the," and he's like, "Dream a little dream of me." And he's got this accent, and it's very bizarre. And then you see Christopher Lloyd walking down the hall, and dressed as a doctor.
Okay, but do you remember first seeing this? Did you know he was?
No, I absolutely thought he was a doctor. Absolutely,
so he's dressed like a doctor,
course.
And everyone kind of goes with it. Like, I love how he's like tortured soul, and like the custodian walks by and he goes, "I know what you mean." Like he's like, "I know what you mean, doc." Like they're all kind of going with it.
Yeah, but he's walking along, he's checking his watch. He goes to there's 2 nurses talking. He goes to a nurse and he adjusts her collar or something, and she walks off, and he walks off, and they both kind of look at him as he goes, and they're just like, "Oh boy," kind of a thing. And he keeps going, and we don't know. As the audience, we're just like watching this guy.
Yeah.
And he's going to each of the group members' rooms to tell them it's time for group. He goes and knocks on the door. Actually, cuts in, and Keaton is playing ping pong with Kenny, who's just like this big guy in suspenders, and he's just smiling, and he's holding this ping pong, and Keaton's this fast-talking guy. He plays Billy Caulfield, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right." He's like, "Are you ready, Kenny?" He's like, "I played with some of the best players in the world. Are you ready for this?" And he serves in the ping pong, and it goes, and it falls off the table. And several seconds after that, Kenny very slowly moves his arm vaguely where the ball was.
Yeah.
And Keaton puts his, is that where he puts his thing down? He's like, "Let me tell you something. I played with some of the best Chinese players in the world, and you ever get that serve down?"
Yeah. He's just building them up, and you see a really nice side of him, and then he comes in.
Christopher Lloyd comes in, and he's like, "It's time for group." Keaton's smoking a cigarette, and he's like, He's like, I'm going to tell the doctor about this. I'm going to write you up. And
Infraction.
he puts it's an infraction. He puts a cigarette on the ping pong table. Lloyd like writes it down and leaves the room. And then he continues to play with Kenny, which is so funny. The last line is he serves him again. Kenny misses again. And he goes, best backhand on Thorsian I've ever seen.
Stop. I didn't hear that.
It's great.
Oh,
but
that's
so
good.
then he goes to get Albert.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Albert's thing,
He's just watching baseball.
his psychosis or whatever it is he only communicates through things he's seen on TV.
Which is kind of like...
He doesn't, he kind of speaks, he only speaks in things he's heard. He parrots things he's heard from TV. So he's standing up singing the national anthem because baseball is his favorite thing in the world. Yeah. And he's about to watch the game. And then Christopher Lloyd comes in to tell him it's time for group. And then, he does. Oh, I love that.
He steals this guy and he's like, this guy's cupcake. And he's like, that's Brian's cupcake.
No, it's this guy, Brian. He's sitting there in a robe.
He's like...
completely catatonic, basically.
Catatonic, yeah.
And his cupcake's there.
He puts it back, and then as soon as Lloyd turns around, he grabs it.
And then they go to get Jack.
And he's naked.
Who
naked.
His whole thing is he's a
Jesus complex,
a messianic, he thinks he's Jesus Christ. We learned that he was in marketing,
a
high-powered senior VP in marketing, and he somehow lost it. Like he just kind of had a total meltdown and believes that he's Jesus. So they go to his room and he's sitting completely naked in a leather chair, which,
reading the paper. No.
Probably summertime.
It's so
and it's just,
sticky.
you're thinking how gross that would be.
Sticky.
And he's got the Bible over his... Or he's reading
he's reading the paper, isn't he?
I think it's
I thought he was reading the paper because he switched it. No? Okay, whatever.
It's the Bible. Maybe not. He's got something over his junk.
And he's drinking red wine.
He's drinking a bottle of red wine from the bottle.
And a damn fine Beaujolais.
Yeah. And he's like... And I love this where he says time for group, and he gets up and he's like, you can't. Lloyd's like, you can't go like that, and he's like, and I can't remember what he says, but it's some holy thing about I turned water into wine. I did this. Get out of my way, or whatever. And he walks outside. There's this just absolute intense old nurse. She's so over it with him, and he immediately stops and he has to get dressed because she's there.
But he goes behind her because. Henry goes behind the nurse and he's like, see what I mean? So he's rounding up the group therapy.
Most of them, he's got a few of them that go into the group meeting room, and then we see Henry going off to these two other doctors who are having this conversation, and Henry starts kind of joining in with them, and they're a little bit awkward. But again, the sense that you get is like he's just a guy who's not liked.
He's just one of those weird, icy doctors.
Yeah, they don't like him. And then he tries to take a stethoscope from the table, and the one doctor's like, Henry, that's my stethoscope.
I was like, I'm not done with that yet.
Yeah, I'm not done with that.
Look just like mine.
And you're still like, that's weird. I still hadn't caught on the first time I saw it.
I thought it was weird, and I'm also younger when I saw it. So
he comes in, Michael Keaton comes in, and then they get in this whole argument.
Straighten out my chair.
Yeah, that's right. He wants Keaton to straighten out the chairs, and he won't.
Straighten that chair. I'll straighten it for you.
Yeah, and he won't do it. And so you kind of get the Keaton psychosis. He just is awful temper.
Ticking time bomb.
Ticking time bomb, as they say about him. And he also just is like kind of in a fantasy world where and so he takes the chair and just throws it into the window. And as you hear the window crashing, cuts outside to the actual doctor, who's Dennis Boutsikaris, who's such a great actor. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I love him and stuff. He's also great in Better Call Saul. But he's fantastic. So he runs in, and now we're getting like this is the doctor and
Dr. Weitzman.
Henry's the patient. Also, he's not an actual doctor. Okay.
Does he take his clipboard or something? He does something, or takes the jacket off.
Well, he goes over and he takes the chair out. He's like, guys, I'm just gonna let you know whatever's going on here. These chairs are innocent. And you're like, he's like the cool doctor. He's got like a denim shirt.
He's definitely the cool doctor. He's like the theater teacher,
You and the theater teachers.
I know, but
you did it with Kevin Kline. You talked about how he's the theater teacher.
It makes sense though, doesn't it? And you know who also is like that, but is a theater teacher? The guy from Sleeping with the Enemy.
Oh. What?
Anyway. All
right. I don't know what that's all about, but he seems like just like the perfect psychologist guy, psychiatrist or whatever. Henry starts trying to give a report, and he's like, Henry, let's put the clipboard down. Let's take the lab coat off. And he makes him take the lab coat off, put the clipboard down and stuff. And there's something in here where Keaton says something about being in Vietnam. Lloyd's like, he's too violent for Vietnam.
Is this what he does the thing where he does the
it's somewhere
cup?
in there where
I love it.
Or that's what it's a lobotomy.
Yeah, but he says that later in
Because
the movie too.
Let's vote. He's like, let's vote on if we should give Henry his lobotomy. Who's a vote? And they all kind of put up their hands.
This was never discussed, was it?
Never discussed. Like he takes everything so seriously. Like Christopher Lloyd's character Henry has no sense of humor at all about anything. Like just absolutely thinks everything is direct. So they all raise their hands, and the doctor's like, let's put the hands down. And that's when Michael Keaton's over, and he goes, we had a majority.
And he like puts his hand into his face like a suction cup and pulls it away.
Mimics
and then, like,
pulling his face
and
off.
then like mimics like dribbling a basketball.
And then bouncing it like a ball.
I
yeah,
do
like
that to my
basketball.
students all the time, and it's sad because
Well, that sounds terrifying.
It's funny though.
I know.
I'm not a teacher, but
This is with the scene where we kind of get to understand what all of their issues are.
Yeah.
And the first one is what Keaton's talking about. They're like, let's focus on some of your goals. And he's like, well, my new goal, Daryl Hannah. and then he looks over at Albert, who's like, ooh, which is very funny. And they're like, let's talk about maybe some more realistic goals. Let's get a realistic woman. He's like, well, maybe if you let me out of here, I can meet a realistic girl. But, all I got in here is Nurse Whoever, and she's like she's horrible or whatever. And that's when Peter Boyle's like, all God's creatures are beautiful. And very quietly, Keaton goes, not her.
and then
That's the point, Peter Boyle.
Peter Boyle's like, no, not her. It's so subtle. It's so great. It's so great. No, not her.
It's all so quiet. It's such a funny exchange. And it's such a weird little detail. So then there's the lobotomy vote is right here.
So many of those lines.
Then we find out Jack was the senior vice president of advertising, and he says he was, quote, crucified. So I think that's where sort of his Jesus complex come from. We find out that, Billy Keaton is delusional, violent temper. Henry's OCD. He focuses on other people's problems to avoid his own problems, they talk about. And then the doctor says, I've got like a bunch of letters from your wife in here. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. And you're like, oh, okay. And that's a thread to get picked up later. But you get that he's, taking on this whole doctor persona to avoid problems in life. And I think that's relatable. Maybe not a doctor persona, but definitely things I take up to avoid issues in my life for sure. I think a lot of people can relate to that. What's happening? You're making a face, but I can't see it because you're behind a mic and it's kind of freaky.
It's so serious and strange.
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just lost interest in what you were saying.
Oh, well, that's nice. Yeah. That's good.
I can relate more to Michael Keaton.
Okay.
Where I just have fits of rage.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to quote the movie, I've had better conversations with cheese. So good. That's what I think of you. So after we learn all their things, Weitzman, they finish the group. Oh, yeah. He said the line about cheese is when he's like, Keaton's like, all right, can we go now? And the doctor's like, Billy, every week you ask if we're done yet or if we can go now. And every week I say we haven't heard from Albert yet. And he's like, no one's heard from Albert. I've had better conversation with cheese. And he asks Albert something. He's like, can you say that you were going to work on saying the names in the group, Albert, can you? And he eventually is like, no.
He's adorable.
And he can't. And this is all very important for, it's a good setup for obviously the entire plot that happens. Because this guy, it's proven he cannot communicate. It is a real problem. Well, so then he mentions as they're all leaving the group, he goes, "Oh, guys, I think we're going to get our field trip to the Yankees game approved." And they all see
the same reaction. They're all like, "Oh."
Well, they all seem very nervous.
Yeah, all of them. They're all those different personalities, and they all hesitate. Like, is this really a good idea?
Yeah,
which is funny because they all want to get out, and their own. Well, actually, no, I think only one of them wants to get out.
It's just an interesting moment that you wouldn't necessarily think, but there's a trepidation there. Yeah. But then it cuts into Weitzman, who's like clearly the cool doc.
Yeah,
he's talking to the lame docs, the head of the place, and two other doctors. The one that Henry had talked to with the stethoscope. And you're right, he's wanting to take them, and they're like, "Why would we ever approve this?" And he's like, "We got to get him out of here."
What's the therapeutic value of like a baseball game for 4 psychotics? It's hard watching Albert dying in here. And then the one doctor's like, nobody's dying in here. It's just the weirdest way he says it.
Well, they're such jerks, and you hate them so much.
They're like mean little Muppets.
They're the worst. They don't understand anything.
And the head doctor is like them, but also has like a little soft spot for that doc. He's like, all right.
Yeah, and they approve this thing. He goes to each of their rooms at night to tell them, hey, we're gonna go. And he tells Henry, and Henry says, do you think that there's one little detail they do in each room that I kind of love, where he tells them, and he's like, "Do you think the other patients are ready?" And he's like, "Well, we'll see. Let's keep an eye on them." And there's and you'll see, of course, Henry's room is perfectly put together, and there's a clock there. And at the last moment, after he tells them the information, the scene's basically over, and then the Weitzman goes, he looks at his watch, and he goes, "Is that the right time?" And then he looks at his watch, and Henry looks at his watch, and Henry looks at the clock. It's just such a random little moment.
It's like a connection to him. But
is that the correct time? That's what he says.
And I love. Will the atheist be there? When he goes to Henry's room, not Henry. He goes to McDermott's room.
No, he goes to McDermott's room, and Jack's listening. He's sitting there in bed listening to this preacher, and he said, "Will the atheist be there?" And I think he said, "Yes, all the
faiths will be represented.
All the faiths will be represented." And there's a moment where they're listening to the preacher on the some fiery preacher on the radio, and Weitzman goes, "You were a lot better than that guy." And Jack's like, "I know." This is great. Then he goes and sees Billy, who's watching Grapes of Wrath and talking about Henry Fonda. And then he says that his last thing to him is, "Hey, there are 65,000 seats."
But they're all...
And he's saying, "But they're all screwed down." And then Albert's looking out the window. There's no, obviously, dialogue there, but it's just this nice kind of shot out the window and everything. And then I have a thing where it's transition. It's the next morning. There's a red van up front. Yeah, this great kind of 80s music kind of going on.
Great to be young and insane.
Great to be young and insane, which I'm sure must have been the trailer for that. I forgot to watch the trailer for this. I should watch that. I'm sure it's great.
Oh, I love this. I wrote down a bunch of lines right here. But the next one's
well, he's given him some spending money.
Yeah.
He each gives him some money, and then Albert tries to eat his money, or just puts it in his mouth at least. And,
he puts it.
And Weissman's like, I can guarantee it tastes better. The dog tastes better than that. Because he's like, you get a hot dog with this or whatever. Billy's like, I'll get some beers. No beers.
and he's like, all right.
And then they have the shotgun fight.
Dr. Weitzman, I'm not going. That idiot took my seat.
Yeah, they all get in the van and Christopher Lloyd's trying to get in the front, and Peter Boyle won't
push
let him.
each other out of the front seat.
So great.
But when did they talk about the buddy system?
Right then,
that's for McDermott.
He's like, I promised Henry he could navigate. You could ride on the way back, and he's like children, and he's like, fine. And then he talked, and then Weiss was like, you guys have to have the buddy system while you're on there.
He's like, I didn't have any buddies when I was on the cross. Yeah. I don't need one now.
Yeah, that's what he's like. All right, guys, let's put on some music. They put on "Hit the Road, Jack," which is fantastic. And apparently, this is Buster Poindexter singing this song, who was hot, 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 and also of the New York Dolls. But apparently, in the video for this, they did a video for it, and Peter Boyle and Stephen Furst, who play Albert, are in the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're apparently taking Buster Poindexter and putting him in a red van, apparently, in the video, is what I was reading about.
I just love the fact, and this is something that Dad always cracked up, and Mom,
too. Mom, they love
when
this.
the song comes on anytime, but it's like nobody's singing. They're just like,
well, they're all driving along, and the doctor's singing, and then Henry's singing a little bit in the front, and Albert's kind of moving along, and even Michael Keaton's kind of like bobbing his head a little bit. And they're singing, and a little bit singing along some of it. And Henry's like, no more, no more, no more, no more. Like he's sort of getting into it. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue in the back, Peter Boyle just dead center in frame in the last row. He's like, oh, woman. And Michael Keaton's just like, absolutely jerks around like he's absolutely terrified. It's so funny.
Don't you treat me so mean, you're the best.
It's such a silly little moment. It's so funny. And yeah, you're right. I think Mom and Dad have always talked about that scene.
Oh my God, they love it. And it's really funny. And then it just transitions like right away into open the door, get on the floor, everybody walk the dinosaur.
I meant to look up, who is that?
I don't know.
What is that song? Like, why? How is that even a song? What is that song? I want to look that up. But then they drive. It's like a montage of them driving to New York, and one of the things that they're looking at are the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the towers, and Michael Keaton's like, "Yeah, I was an architect on that job, or whatever." And he's talking about it. And I was thinking, it's so strange how many movies have the towers in, of course. And I'm also thinking about we're at an age now where there are a lot of people who would be like, "What are those?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd be like, "What are those?" And like if you're watching this any movie, New York movie pre-2001, you're going to see him, and people are just like, I think a lot of people just don't know, which is insane to me.
Yeah, I guess. What are you looking up?
I was looking where we were. And then here,
They're
talk about
driving
when you
what?
go into the tunnel. They go into the tunnel here. This is scene's so great.
Oh, and he's trying to scare everyone. And I don't know what he says, but he says like,
Hey, Doc, how many tiles are on there? He's like, oh, millions or whatever.
yeah. And he's like, if one comes loose, oh, there's one coming loose. It's tripping. Oh my God. And they're all in the van like, ah!
Yeah.
Like they're terrified.
He loves winding everybody up.
Eventually, Albert has to pee so bad, and they pull off into a gas station, and they can't use the gas station restroom, so he takes him to the alley. What are you doing?
I guess I thought it was Everybody Wants, but I guess it's Everybody Walk That Dinosaur?
Oh, I thought it was Walk That Dinosaur.
That's what, okay, so you're
Everybody
right.
Walk the Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Is that a dance move?
Apparently
What does
it
that
is.
mean?
I have no idea. There's a song by
Walk
Was.
the dinosaur. Boom, boom, chaka-laka-laka.
Released in 87 from their album What Up Dog?
What? Is it spelled DAWG or DOG?
DOG.
Oh. Okay.
Walk the Dinosaur by Was, not Was. I don't understand what's happening here, but that's that's what it is apparently. But man, that song sticks in your brain place.
It really does.
It really does.
And then Billy continues to try to scare them, and he's talking about, you guys ever see Wolfen? It was shot
But
here.
this is after the doctor gets out with Albert, though.
I already got there. You were taking time on the Google.
Yeah, but you didn't explain
But
it.
You were on the Google machine. You didn't hear it. I said, he's got to go to the bathroom really bad. And he takes him out and he's like, wait here, guys. And then he can't use the restroom because it's toilets broke. Alley works. And then he goes into the alley and he turns around so Albert can go to the bathroom. And then Albert tiptoes away and around the corner.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how they splice back and forth between the scenes. But basically, you know.
While they're waiting in the
for
van. It's actually before they even get to the alleyway. It's like as soon as the doctor, before he leaves, he's like, all right, I'm going to take Albert in the alleyway. You guys just wait here. And Billy, no scary stories. He's like, what?
And then he talks
fine.
about, ow, ow.
And then as soon as he walks away, he's like, yeah. He's like, you guys ever see Wolfen? He's like, yeah, that horror movie where they... Yeah, just the werewolves ripping all these people apart. Yeah.
Get the blood and the fangs.
Blood and the stuff, the guts hanging from the
teeth.
teeth. Yeah, it was filmed right here, right down. Oh, yeah, right around here.
I love what the way he says it. Those wolves actually happened.
Yeah,
that's the way he
it's
said
all
it.
based on. It's all true. Wolves actually happened. All here. Yeah, it's crazy. And then yeah, Peter Boyle and Christopher are sort of like nervously looking around in the middle of the day in this gas station, and he does. And so then they walk into the alleyway, and it's everything you were saying, Albert. He's gonna go take a leak, but the doctor's looking at him, so he looks to the doctor, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll turn around."
Yeah.
Albert sneaks away around the corner.
And then when he opens his eyes, he's gone, and he's like, "Albert."
Can you imagine how terrifying that'd be if you were a doctor, you just lost your patient?
I would just start running. I would just start running, like, no. So he takes off, and then he hears talking and a little scuffle, and so he walks in on a.
It's very cheesy.
It's
very cheesy.
It's very cheesy.
Like, all right, Alvarez.
All right, Alvarez. It's so
these weird sounds going from some defunct store or something. He kind of like walks in there. These two guys, and they've got a guy against the wall with a gun to the back of his head, and they shoot him twice in the back of the head. And then it's such a weird moment.
And instead of like backing up like anyone would do, he's like, Albert. And they turn around and they're like, get him. And he starts running like a little child. He looks ridiculous. They tackle him in the alleyway.
It's such a silly
moment. And he's
moment.
like totally knocked unconscious. And I don't remember they were going to kill him, but some kids walk up and they're like, yo, mira. Like, and they see them and they take off.
But this is the thing in movies, right? So this is the thing that happens, I think, like an odd amount. And I'm trying to think of the one I just saw recently that I really enjoyed and is a good movie, but they have so much stuff where a character will say out loud things that are happening that are obviously happening, but it's like they're saying it out loud for the audience to understand the motivation of what's happening.
That's like when they do dream sequences or like they cut back to tell you the story, and I'm like, why did you even do this whole movie if you were just going to explain what just happened?
I can't believe it. This is related. It was a very short tangent, but we'll have to get back to it. But like, really? I just saw, and I can't believe it. I just saw a movie that's like coming out. I don't know what it was called. I think it's kind of like not a A-list kind of movie, but in the trailer, it's like a woman and a man in the desert, and they're like pushed to the ground, and someone pulls a gun on them, and it freeze frames on the woman, and she says in the voiceover, it's something like, yeah, maybe we should explain how this happened. And then it reverses and rewinds past everything you just saw. And you're like, are we still doing that? I can't believe. Like, I don't know what the first movie was that did that. And I'm sure it was like, oh, that's funny. Like when you first saw it. And then there were a few others involved. But it is such a common thing now, and it is so annoying. And anyway, the relation. I'm sorry. Go on. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying. Like, I don't. It does kind of give you a chuckle, but I did watch this horrible movie once. But and I'm not joking. They literally, it was like a tense moment in the end where it was kind of like it's you did this, and he's like, well, and it's like Scooby Doo, but really long. Like I would have been able to. Well, really, and you're like. You just literally told the entire movie. Yeah. Like if you had just shown us that, which you kind of did, you wouldn't need to do that.
That's why one of the reasons I love The Incredibles so much is they so brilliantly, one of the villain in that's like, oh, you sly dog, you got me monologuing. And they have such a great explanation for it. It's so funny. That's pretty funny. But in this, so that's what this moment is to me, where he walks in and they shoot him, and I don't understand the logic of why they couldn't just look up and see him there. But you're right. He goes, Albert. And you're like, why? Like what? And that's why I think there must have been something that went wrong with editing or how the scenes were ordered, where like they had a problem they couldn't fix, I guess, because it doesn't make any sense.
No, but he was like weirded out. He could have just like run in and they heard him.
Well, but I think it's there, I guess, to explain why the doctor would care, but it's like you just saw someone get shot. It doesn't make sense. It's such a bizarre moment, and I think there's a lot of movies that have done that. Gosh, I'm so blanking on what this movie is.
I think he just couldn't see. Like he was like worried that they were killing him or something. Well, whatever. But when he finally runs out,
even if they were. And then you said, because Albert's wearing the brightest shirt ever, and very clearly is not Albert. But for him to look at him and say, Albert, well, I think he's even stepping forward. He is. It's just crazy to me. I don't know, but I think it's one of those weird moments where they're worried about the audience getting it or something. I don't know. But anyway, some movies do that, and it's bad.
I don't know. But anyway, it's really sweet because after the kids spot them trying to knock out or kill the doctor, you just see Albert like quietly step out from between the dumpsters. Like,
well, it's a great shot because they knock the doctor down, and then like you see there's like it's a wider shot, and Albert's hiding behind a dumpster, and the cop's right there, and like he doesn't see him, but it's like a very tense like and then then the cops. Some kids are like, oh, look, what's going on? And someone up in the alleyway is looking down. I was like, hey, what are you guys doing down there? And it's James Remar, who Dexter's dad and Sex and the City guy. And he and Philip Bosco, who plays the other cop, they run down and they disappear. And that's when they have a nice kind of like wide shot where kind of like Albert steps out and like looks down like it's like a dead dog in the alley. He doesn't know what to do or what to say.
It's so sad.
Yeah. And then there's a weird time cut there, I think, too, where there's all of a sudden there's an ambulance.
There's
there's an ambulance. No, it's not dark yet.
When he chases the ambulance.
And they load the doc up and it drives away and he chases the ambulance and then he's sort of like walks back to the
it's like the sad jazz music. It's like
it's got to be. He had to have been gone for like 45 minutes, really in real time.
Oh yeah, and that's right. And all of a sudden it gets dark in the van. Like, we'll be back any minute, and then all of a sudden it's dark.
Cut. It's a great cut in that way. And so he walks back to the van and he says, "What does he say?" He's like, EMTs to take the dog away. He's like, where'd you go to take that piss or whatever? And it's some I can't remember what he says, but he's like, but Henry's like, we're all staying in the van. We'll be back any moment now. And then it's like a hard cut to nighttime, and they're all still sitting there. And then Michael Keaton's the first one to leave. He's like, I'm out of here, and he gets out of the van.
I don't know if they're arguing first, but at one point Henry says something about putting this in his report.
Yeah,
and then
they're arguing because Michael Keaton's saying something, and then he's like, he "Where's the doc?" And he's like yelling it.
"Where's the doc, Albert?"
Because again, he can't speak. What does he say?
He's like
he's saying some baseball
news
phrase
at 10.
over news at 10.
News at 10.
Yeah, because in his mind, it's like if you watch the news, you'll find out or something.
You'll find out that something happened.
Yeah.
News at 10.
News at 10, and then he's like, "I'm out of here," and he gets out of the van.
Like, I'm going to put this in my report. Or like,
And then
McDermott gets up.
And then McDermott's going to leave. And then Henry tries to fight with him. And then he's like,
gives him the fingers like, put this in your report.
Yeah. And then he walks off. And I love this moment where as Jack's walking off, there's this great shot where it's in the alleyway shooting out towards the street. And Jack enters into the, past the alleyway and a woman's walking the way. And he stops the woman and he goes, I fear my doctor may have been seized by the Romans.
She screams and runs away.
She just runs away.
So good.
That's a great line.
Yeah, I have like Billy leaves, McDermott leaves. And then I think we cut to like Billy going to the restaurant with that crazy early 90s. Like,
the music and those awful, disgusting 80s guys
at the table. So he's
those misogynistic jerks.
Oh, they're so gross.
When they say, at one point he actually says to her, like, there's this waitress who is Lorraine Bracco, but we don't know this yet. Like,
she's adorable.
Yeah, and she's the waitress, and these three, kind of like, I imagine like Wall Street Coke guys. They're like sitting there.
They're like the original bros.
Oh, they're so gross.
With their ugly ties and their fluffy
hair. Yeah, they're
hair.
so gross. And they make them especially gross to get the comeuppance that they're about to get.
Yeah.
And he says to her at one point, he's like something like, hey, come over here with your cute little knockers. This is what he said.
Oh, so gross.
And he's like, do you find my friend attractive here? Because he thinks that whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so disgusting. Oh. And they're kind of like grabbing her and they're getting their hands on her and everything. She's like, guys, fellas, like, whatever. And then, and that's when
he's
Michael Keaton shows up.
Give me a reason why you won't want to date. And by the way, the guy in the middle, for a minute, I was like, is that one of the doctors from the hospital?
It does sort of look like him.
But no,
you're right.
It wasn't him. But I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy.
You're right. He's kind of similar to him.
But so Keaton walks over and he's like, I'll give you a reason. Yeah. And I think he grabs him does he say anything else? Or he just grabs him by the back of the head and slams.
Well, he has a whole. I can't remember exactly what it is, but the guy's like, "What's your problem?" And he's like, "I'll tell you what my problem is." And he starts on some little speech. And then eventually, I think so. And he grabs him by his tie or his head.
Grabs him by the back of the head and slams it.
He slams the guy's head into the table.
I just want to say, I think it was strawberry cheesecake.
Oh, well, that's an important detail.
It might have been. Because I just feel like that he was eating strawberry cheesecake.
Whatever it is, he gets his face slammed in the table and the whole restaurant goes silent.
Yeah.
And then he's like, pay the lady. And he slams the check down on the table. And the guy's like, okay. And then he stands up and goes, sorry, everybody. Little restaurant police.
It was like a utensil violation.
Utensil violation.
It reminded me of Indiana Jones when he's like, no ticket.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh!
Yeah. No ticket. Oh, gosh. What a great scene.
But he sees, you got a little something right here.
Yeah.
And he's like, touches the cake on his face. And then she's like, Sue, cover for me.
Yeah.
And she runs out after him.
He leaves and Lorraine Bracco runs out after him, gets him on the street. She's like, hey.
It's another little surprise.
Yeah. It's another surprise. And then you think she's just going to maybe say thank you or whatever. Yeah. And then they start making out.
And she's like, this is crazy.
Got a history. I worked with Lorraine Bracco once too.
I know.
But you know what's crazy?
Snow Globe.
In Snow Globe, the perennial favorite.
She's still pretty. Love her.
Oh, she's lovely.
She's got that Demi Moore ghost haircut.
I didn't work with her much. And I don't know what was going on in my head. Like, I didn't register with me that like this was her in this movie. God. Because I think I worked there. I think she was right in the middle of Sopranos. And so I was only thinking Sopranos when I worked with her. I didn't really work with her that much. I was only in a few scenes with her. We didn't really talk that much.
Is her voice like
because,
that?
As we've covered before, I'm very shy and I never speak to people. And I always should have.
No, you're not shy. You're just out to ruin my life.
Oh, yeah. What? Me not speaking to famous people is ruining your life? Why is that?
Because they might want to meet me too.
We've talked about before.
What was that sound?
We've done. Yeah. Eat. It's Julia Roberts' sound. We've talked about before how I have. And you're the one who reminded me. You're like, I've had famous people call you. I've had them leave messages for you. Can we move on?
Wait, hold on.
I've done these things for you.
I have a more important question.
I can't do anything right. Apparently, I can't. I just can't please you. I can't please your majesty.
Lorraine Bracco. Is that really her accent? Does she sound like that? I love
think
that
so,
accent. Yeah. God, I wish I had an acccent.
Yeah. So we find out that they've been.
Does he walk back with her?
We find out that they've been in a relationship.
Sorry.
And they've been in a relationship for, I don't know, a while. I can't. I
haven't seen you in 3 months.
Yeah, I don't really get their timeline.
I don't either.
But anyway, they're clearly they've been. He went specifically to find her, guessing they were dating on and off for a long, long time. So there we go to Henry. He leaves the van. And he just tells Albert to stay in the van.
And he's just picking up trash everywhere he goes. And
He's
I like
picking up
to, and
trash.
I bet this is how it looks, but it always stuck in my head, I don't even know why, was how shiny the New York streets look. And when he's picking stuff up,
Oh, really?
it's just so shiny and gross.
Oftentimes, there's some movies that they just wet the streets down. Do you know
Well,
that?
I feel like they did that in Along Came Polly because he rubs the peanuts on the ground and then eats them. And that's disgusting. Anyway.
I don't know what you're talking
So
about.
Henry leaves, picks up trash, and I love when he goes to the bar. But I have right after that McDermott goes to the church. So I don't really. Oh yeah, he goes to the bar. He goes to the bar first, and he like slinks into this sort
Well,
of.
Henry, he helps the garbage guy.
Oh yeah,
He starts
helps the
throwing garbage in the garbage truck.
This is gonna look very good for you.
I know, and it's like he's treated like he's a supervisor. He's got his clipboard.
Oh, yeah.
He helps throw the garbage.
I love the way
garbage,
the guy just looks at him.
and the trash man's just staring at him, and he's like, "This will look very good for you."
I love that, and it's still just because the trash makes me think of when they dump the trash out in the burbs, and he's like, "What are you doing? Who's gonna pick up all this garbage?" He's like, "Well, you're gonna pick it up because
Yeah.
you are a garbage man. I pick up garbage from
dirt.
cans, not the street."
Oh, so
it.
good.
I love it.
Poor history of trash men and garbage men in movies being mistreated.
And
Although this was treated
a
very well.
garbage truck in Harry and the Hendersons, unoccupied.
Okay.
Then we cut to Jack McDermott. Wait.
Yeah, and he goes into a gospel service.
Okay.
He finds a church like a kind of a
Gang-
gospel church. And there's like great music. Everyone's dancing and
He's
everyone's
totally
singing along.
off
And
key.
he's
He's clapping.
the only white guy there. He's,
like-
completely out of place, off key, off rhythm.
Oh my
It's
God.
just, but he's just super into it. And this reminded me of the Eddie Izzard bit, where he talks about.
Oh yeah.
He's like, why is he's like, you go to a gospel church, it's the most joyful music. Oh, Jesus!
People that have been like
Jesus.
discriminated against and like horribly treated, and that's the most joyous sound.
Yeah.
Then
And
you go
then
to a hallelujah,
Hallelujah. Love is good. It was so great. And it's so true. Oh,
That's
man.
and wait, Birbiglia does that too, and he's like,
He does?
God has risen, God has something. God will rise again.
Are you saying
like
here?
the song.
Are you saying right here and right now that Mike Birbiglia has ripped off Eddie Izzard's
No.
bits? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it was so
my
good. What is it?
gosh.
Remember what the thing was? His brother used to do the songs. I don't even know.
I don't remember.
Mike
I love Mike
Birbiglia. I'm
He's
really
great.
sorry. It's in my head. It's so good. Can't get it out though. Love
In
you.
your hair.
In your head. In your
Oh
head.
gosh, no.
Okay. I just didn't-
Yes, the gospel service. That just reminded me of that. And then meanwhile, I say Albert runs away from the truck.
Oh
but I don't
my God!
remember.
One of my
Oh, no, of
favorite,
course
one
he
of my
does.
favorite parts of this entire
Of
movie.
the chicken?
But it's the scream.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's great. So then we see Albert leaving the truck, and then we got to Henry, and he sees some.
Oh my God.
He's asking some random guy where Dr. Weitzman is, which is great. And then he goes into a bar. We see Albert wandering around. He finds a storefront with a bunch of TVs. They're playing the baseball game. He's super into it, and as he's glued to the TV, this guy in a humongous, it looks like Big
suit.
Bird almost,
Oh my
but it's a chicken
God.
suit, walks up and starts watching the game behind him.
He's talking, and
They're talking about baseball, or he's talking about baseball, and they're commenting on whatever the heck's going on in there. And then at some point he says something that makes Albert turn around, and Albert's been smiling like, yeah, like, oh, I'm communicating with this person through baseball. And he turns around, and what's the scream?
It's the best. I
What
can't
is
do
it?
it. But he turns around, and the second he sees me, he's like, "Ah!" Like, he looks.
It's like he's so terrified at this guy,
Like,
this chicken
I
costume.
wish I had recorded the sound of the
It's a
scream.
great scream.
It's up there with the tarantula scream from.
No.
No, I don't mean.
No,
I don't
my gosh.
mean it's the same noise. I mean it's such a funny reaction.
I'm talking about like that is without a doubt.
No, I don't
the
mean it was the
greatest
same.
scream in film history is that which one day
Well,
we'll get to
obviously.
in Home Alone, man. There's no.
Well, we didn't even say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I keeping you awake? Oh, are you sleepy times for the dream team? Oh, the movie with the Michael Keatons, and you're so excited to do the movie with the Michael Keaton, but you're so tired. And so, oh, I thought you were gonna rip it. Rip it. Ow, why? That's not nice.
That's not nice. That I wrote that yell. OMG.
Yes.
So they're in the bar, and the waitress, like, he sits down between these, like, really gruff-looking, like, gross dudes.
Grimy New York in the 80s bar.
And I thought he was going to burp in his face because it reminded me, I was thinking of Big when he asks him about the hotel room. And he's
so
like,
gross, that guy. He's so gross.
Oh, it's so nasty. He burps in his face. But anyway, the waitress leaned over and she's like, what is it? I need 2 rum Collins, something, blah, 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 and a Heineken. And when the bartender asks Henry what he wants, he just repeats it.
He repeats the exact same order.
And then he like lines them up by size. And then he starts talking about group therapy, and eventually he gets kicked out of the bar.
Yeah,
he makes them uncomfortable.
It's
he
weird.
tries to
I
hug
have
them.
that all in this. I guess it's all in the same sequence. I have it written on the same. But yeah, he does.
They're splicing back
he
and
gets
forth
them all,
between
no, but I
everyone's
think here
experience.
he orders it. The bartender's like,
okay.
Weird. That's
no,
so
it
weird.
goes to something else. I think.
And then he orders
when
it.
He goes back. He's drinking. Oh, he's got all the, but he doesn't touch any of
No,
them.
I don't think so. I think it cuts to the order being lined up in front of him, and then Henry's trying to. He's like, again, his whole life is group
About
therapy and order, and so he's trying to like talk to the people, and he leans over to like the really dirty guy next to him. And he goes, "Would you mind cleaning up your area?" He's got like peanut shells and stuff all over. I think the guy actually might burp, or no, he like blows smoke in his face or something. And then he goes on about, no, it's very important to have a clean area, and everything. And finally he says, he's like, maybe we should just. Should we all do a group hug? Which I forgot the doctor tries to get them to do earlier, and they're like, they're not having it. They're like, no. He's like, is this the day we're gonna hug? He's like, no, not today. So today he's like, should we all do a group hug? And then it cuts to him being thrown out of the bar onto the street. I love this.
Somebody bring me back to my room.
I know, it's the saddest line.
He just wants to go home.
His little seersucker suit.
I was gonna say he's wearing that seersucker suit like a little kid.
Will someone please take me back to my room? It's so awful and sad. So then Jack's in the church, and in answer to your question, because I've always wanted that too. And by the way, completely random that he would have found the bar or the church. Yeah. However, it does make sense that Henry would be like, "Well, I'm going to go start looking in churches." It does, does make sense that he would look for him in churches. It's random that in New York he would find the one, but still, but like you can kind of like, okay, it's fine.
It's sort of like who cares?
Jack's in the church, and the pastor, the minister, is like doing this great impassioned sermon and everything, and he's talking about he's like, God is calling, you got to pick up the phone, and the whole crowd's like, yeah, pick up the phone. And finally he's like, who's gonna answer the call? And then Jack stands up and goes, you have called and I have answered. And the whole church goes crazy.
Yeah.
No, they all go crazy.
No, they're happy, but it's
they're
like
thrilled that he gets up there and he starts doing this preacher's like he's like, let me tell you, brothers and sisters,
I was loving drugs.
They were, I was money, and I was tempted by Satan, and there were women. Oh, there were women, beautiful women, and
the preacher, like slowly as he goes on, is like,
well, as he's doing this, he starts taking his clothes off. He takes his jacket off, and then his pants, and his shirt, and then his shoes, and the congregation is going from like to like they're all like, what's happening?
We are all naked in the eyes of the Lord.
Yeah, and just as he's about to like take his pants off, Henry comes in and sees it, and he says something about the naked part. He goes, just as he's about to pull his pants down, stop! This man is clinically insane.
He's currently a patient under my supervision. And they throw him out too. He gets thrown out the same way.
And then they both get thrown out again.
And he doesn't get his clothes back, does he?
No.
Because he's like has to wander around in his underwear.
Yeah, so they get thrown out. He's in his boxers. He's only his boxers and a t-shirt. And so then we're back to Billy and Lorraine. And they're back at her.
That's Riley. Her name's Riley.
Riley, thank you. Her name is Riley.
Before that, they do end up there. We see a really brief scene at the police station where the cops.
Not yet.
Yeah, I wrote it there on my notes.
Well, maybe I have it wrong, but I have
it in my flippin'
I have
notes.
a different order.
You know why?
But anyway, whatever it is.
What is important and what's not.
Huh? What? What'd you say?
What?
I didn't hear what you said. Probably because you weren't speaking the microphone again, as per usual. I don't know what you said. Why can't you say what you said? If you're so brave to say it again. If you're so brave to say it again. Oh.
Why would I do it? It would make you happy.
What?
She's
so saucy. So saucy tonight.
If I had dirty socks, I would rub them on your face.
Ew, that's disgusting. Oh my gosh.
But instead, I just have my hand on my naked foot.
Ew. Ew. Gross.
Riley tells Billy about
I don't like it when you're talking to someone and they got like their socks off, whatever, and they're just kind of like absentmindedly like rubbing their toes and
I'm
stuff.
doing that right now.
Oh, I hate it.
I can't wear my shoes up here.
You're a disgusting bad person. Anyway, so I'm not sure what the order, but the Billy in the Rain scene, which is funny, is they're walking along and they're sort of getting reacquainted, and she says something about you got your shoes on and you're not drooling. I'm impressed.
Yes.
That's so good. And then he says, "You still acting?" This is one of the best reactions.
She screams.
Well, but yeah, with no warning they're just like walking. I think it's like Washington Square Park. Maybe they're walking somewhere. It's like nighttime in New York, summer. It's like all this life around. He's like, "You still acting?" And without a beat, she just looks behind him and goes, "Ah!" And he turns and starts like hitting the air. And
it's Linda.
Yeah. She's basically talking about like either a role or an audition she had where she had to like scream for a horror thing or whatever. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. And
all of a sudden I'm red hot.
She's talking about like her acting career, and she's going up for commercials and stuff. And then I have the crooked cop part here where they go into the station. You hear this cop telling a story about the mysterious dude defense.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like, I got this guy. He's coming out of the thing. You know, I'm like, hey man, where'd you get that TV from? He's carrying a TV in the street. He's like, oh man, some dude gave this to me. He's like, oh, some dude, and it's slowly panning around as the cops are laughing at this, and it lands on the cop telling, and we recognize it's one of the guys who shot Alvarez.
You know what's funny?
What?
I didn't notice it in the movie, but your imitation of that cop, it was so good that it just made me realize that he was the father of the bride in My Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Why?
My Best Friend's Wedding? No, I haven't seen that.
Julia Roberts.
Haven't seen it.
Wow.
Wasn't she in another wedding movie?
Yeah, so many good movies.
How many wedding movies is she in?
Not enough. I love her so much.
Runaway
Bride. I love that movie.
I haven't seen that either.
I love it.
Okay.
It's really good.
Good.
All right, anyway.
Philip Boskov, that's that guy. So apparently we see, we go, the guy that shot that dude, he's a cop. And then, of course...
we find out, they're like, oh no, that's terrible. But you find out they shot their own partner.
Wait,
it's not his...
The captain or someone comes over, he's like, hey, can I see you? And he gets up from the table, and then he goes and he gathers the other guy that was shot Alvarez, and they get them together, and he's like, hey... He's like, they found Alvarez. He was shot in the back of the head. And they're like, oh, no. And then the captain leaves, and they very quietly go over to what clearly is Alvarez's locker, and they pick it and open it, and inside they're looking for evidence. And clearly they're obviously crooked cops, and Alvarez had been doing it. They find this envelope. He's like, and that's the official end of Mr. Alvarez's investigation. And they get the evidence of whatever the hell it was that they did. And so now the only loose end, of course, is this doctor who's in a hospital somewhere, and they got to find that out. So then we're back with Billy and Riley, and they get back to this place, and she's like, I can't invite you up. He goes, yeah, you can. You say, Billy, you want to come up?
I can't invite you in because it's not my place.
And then as he finds out that she's been dating this guy, Ed. Hello, Ed.
Ed is the perfect name for that guy.
He's
and he's
so
so classic, like 80s, early 90s. You're
80s
like,
guy.
oh.
Ed, but we don't see him yet.
No.
And so he's like, so she's dating this guy, and
you almost knocked that plant over. He gets furious.
He gets so pissed off, and he kicks this plant. She's like, nice job. You almost knocked that plant over. Then he kicks it again, and he takes it and throws it down and breaks it. She's like, oh, real nice. Although I feel like this is after, though, where she says because she's the reason. This scene's the reason he goes back for them, because he's talking about. She's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
She's like, so he's been telling her what's going on and why he's actually out. He comes clean with her. That's right. Yeah. He's honest with her and tells her, and he's like. She's like, and he says, yeah, these guys in my group are coming to the game, but the doc just bailed on us and now just left. And she's like, wait a minute. These guys that you share the most deepest parts of your life with, they're here and you just abandon them? And that gets to him because he's so pissed off after the Ed thing, and he breaks the planter, but then he goes back.
He does. He goes back, and this is so great. I love it. They all kind of end up there at the same time.
Yeah, they're all heading back to the van.
Where's Albert? And then he
Well, the van's getting towed.
Oh,
They
yeah,
walk
no.
up, and as the van is getting towed, I guess it's Henry and Jack first. We don't know where Albert is. And
I wrote down a line. It's funny. Did
Say
you
it.
write down the same line?
I'm sure I did.
But is it like McDermott says something like, he
Yeah,
says about who's
yeah.
towing this car? And he goes, City of New York, Tarzan.
Yeah, because he's wearing McDermott's still wearing his underwear. He's like, who deigns to tow the vehicle of the Christ or whatever?
The living
like this-
Christ. He's like,
the living
City
Christ.
of New York, Tarzan.
Yeah. Guys, so he's got like one or two lines. He's very
Oh,
memorable. He's
so
great. He
good.
does a great job. And so then they realize that Albert's in there, and they get Albert out of the van. So then the van gets towed, and now they're grouped back together. They're like, okay, well, I can't remember what they say, but they say something like, "Oh, at least it can't get any worse," or whatever.
Lightning
And then
pop.
lightning,
It's
brain.
pouring.
And then they have that great. And then it cuts to the doctors. The doctors
yeah.
are back at the institution. Have obviously, it's like they were supposed to be back hours ago, and then they're trying to find out what's going on. But then it cuts to the four of them in a cardboard box, this huge like refrigerator style
again
cardboard
like
box.
boom, boom, shaka laka like a boom?
Boom, yeah.
If they're
Some
playing
other
that
great
song
80s song.
again. No, it's the same song, I think.
Yeah, the dinosaur song,
Bang.
Walk the Dinosaur. And they've got this like kind of refrigerator sized box, and they've cut
hole
like
in
a
it.
window in the front, and all four of them are in there, and like they're
It's amazing.
they're
all
running through
running.
Times Square with this box. They go to an Army Navy store.
Yes,
That's what he's like.
that's such a.
This-
I'm prepared to carry you in my arms.
I know this. I love this dialogue in this
so
scene. They
good.
walk in. There's this guy, this old guy in the Army Navy store, and they look total. All of them look totally nuts. And he's like, Michael Keaton says, "We're looking for something casual for the Son of God." And what would the Supreme Being want? He says, like without
so
missing a
good.
beat. Oh my gosh! And so
Something in a tweed, like you see him slip right back into his like.
Yeah.
He talks about like it's just some like amazing suit. Like you can see that he obviously has
Oh,
worn
yeah.
some very snazzy suits as an executive.
Yeah,
And then
he's like, "Why don't you
stretch
guys?
that
Why don't you
dollar.
guys go browse? Why don't you guys go browse around?" And they kind of say, "Browse." And they start looking around. Michael Keaton talks to the guy in the front, and the guy he's like, "Look, I'm pretty sure you want to get us out of here as soon as possible." And he goes, "I'm prepared to carry you out in my arms."
Let's stretch that. Does he say stretch that family dollar?
he's like,
Stretch that
"What's it
dollar.
going to do?" He's like, "Let's stretch that."
Does he say family dollars? Like let's stretch that. Whatever it is.
No, but it's
stretch
like, yeah,
that
like the whatever the dollar's worth, essentially. Let's stretch that. And then it cuts it. He's wearing like army fatigues,
A bright blue shirt,
bright blue shirt,
tank top,
a vest.
cargo pants, and red Converse.
No, cargo, like long pants.
Cargo pants.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, like camouflage cargo pants.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
And red Converse.
Red Converse.
And he looks amazing.
He does. He looks at. They're looking at him in the mirror, and the owner goes, "It's a statement. You know who you are."
No, he doesn't. Yes, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. It's such.
I wrote it like, you know who you are.
I mean,
no, he doesn't.
you're totally right. We sort of touched on it earlier, and it is like it's definitely one of these movies that, like, I think now you'd have a real trouble getting this script and movie out there because people all the kind of like, well, you can't refer to any kind of neurodivergence in this way and everything like that, and it's absolutely true. But it's still enjoyable. Like it's a movie of its time, and it's really
especially
funny.
if you're a little cuckoo like me. It's nice. You relate to it. No, I'm kidding, but it's true. But it was just a different time.
But I love that. But it's a great line. You know who you are. No, he doesn't.
I love this part in the police station. I wrote it down. We're moving on to the police station.
Yeah.
now. Yes.
He goes in the police station, and they're
Now that will get my attention.
yeah. Oh yeah. So they go to the police station.
Why do police always have food? Because remember,
It's always
that's what I'm telling.
That's what I'm telling
They're eating that yummy. It's like a burrito or something.
I don't know.
It always looks good.
They go to the cop station. The cop could not care less. And there's that great line he has where they're like, "Look, we're from this institution, and our doctor is missing." And
Who
the
would
guy's
lie
like,
about
he's like, he hasn't 40. He's like, he hasn't not a missing person. He hasn't been gone for 48 hours. And they're and the whole while Albert's like trying to steal the cop's burger that's sitting on the table. Swing and a miss. That's great. And the cop really is just like, "Get out of here," kind of like this. And Keaton's like,
What kind of a bonehead cop would something?
Send Forrest Gate mental patients
For confessed.
back out. Yeah, for
Back on the
confessed
street.
mental patients back out the street. Now that will get my attention.
Because he slammed the phone, right? Like the phone rang, and he like
that's
slammed
right.
it down.
That's
and he goes,
right.
"Now that will get my
Yeah, that's right. He
attention."
picks up the phone, he slams it down, and
Yeah.
he like hangs up whoever he answered. And
So
then
good.
it basically he kicks him out, and
Yeah,
but
they get
Albert
kicked
steals
out
his
a
burger,
lot.
so
He does.
everything's fine.
And I love that he's like, "Oh man."
And then they're outside, and then an ambulance goes by, and
yeah.
that's when he runs after the ambulance for a second. And that's when Billy's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Did Weitzman go away in an ambulance? And he's like,
Big inning.
Big
inning.
He's like, see, he got taken. He's like, he didn't say anything. He said, he's like, yes, he did. That's a definitely yes. He said big inning. Big inning.
See, he's not
in his head. See, he's like, that means so they go to like a bar and he's looking through the phone book and he rips out the page because they're looking for John and Jane Doe's.
Did you write that part? Did you write that part?
Well,
do it.
Well, right when he comes, he sits down. Well, I also like when he's calling. He's on the phone with the hospital, and he's like talking to one of the nurses, and he's like, "Oh,
Grabowski.
You stitched me up, Grabowski. You stitched me up last year for thing. Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?"
Like a head wound. Yeah, self-inflicted.
That's right. Yeah, self-inflicted. Yeah. So then he hangs up, and he rips the page of the book, goes and sits down with them, and he says, "None of these hospitals have the doc. Only John and Jane Doe's." And what did Lloyd say?
Not John Doe, Dr. Weitzman. And Keaton's got the toothpick hanging out of his mouth. And he's like,
when someone shows up in a hospital
and they're unconscious
and he doesn't know who they are, they call them John Doe. And then he says, he's like, we got to go to all these places. We got to go to all these hospitals and check on all these people. And he folds up.
He like rips out the page of the phone book.
He already has it and he folds it.
You can't take that. That's public property. And then Michael Keaton just like so quietly takes the paper. And
he stares daggers at him. He was like, public property, huh? Watch this.
Public property. Private property.
Yeah, he folds it 2 or 3 times and shoves it in his pocket. Private property. It's so good.
Michael Keaton's a genius.
He is. He's a genius. He's so funny, and I'm so glad that Beetlejuice 2 is coming out, which I'm thrilled about.
But you think he's going to really be in it, or is it going to be one of those things where he's kind of in it?
Oh, for sure.
He better be in it like a lot.
If you think about it, Beetlejuice isn't in Beetlejuice all that much. I'm sure he's in it at least by the trailer alone. He's in it as much. You know what I mean?
God,
but it's like Michael Keaton was so funny, and there's a long stretch where he was doing only like dramas, and I was like, when do we get funny Michael Keaton back? And so I'm so glad.
We need to do the paper, so you got to watch that one.
Okay, I'm down for that. I don't know that one as well, but I'm excited to watch it again.
They go to the okay.
So they're checking a hospital. And
Albert spots the cops.
That's right. But they go to a hospital and they go into a hospital room, and there's someone who's dying, and they're giving this person the last rites, and the family's there, and the priest is there. And it says something like, let us ask forgiveness from our Lord. And Jack from the door goes, "You got it."
I don't remember that. Oh my god!
And then they walk in and they're like, oh, because they think it's Weitzman for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. And then Christopher Lloyd is like, "May I say a few words?" And he starts saying like, "I knew this man better than anyone here, probably." And meanwhile, Keaton's checking out and he realizes it's not the doctor, and he's like, "It's not the doc." He's like, "Maybe I should wrap up my comments." Wrap up my remarks. So they leave, and and then it's like a long time cut. Like they're all exhausted. They're walking up to another hospital, and there's some line about, "I never knew there was so many hospitals in New York." And they've been walking clearly all night long. That's where Albert sees the dirty cops in the lobby.
He says something.
"Pitcher's in trouble. Pitcher's in trouble."
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And they like race up.
And then Billy realizes something's wrong.
Yeah.
And that music. Oh, you know what? We didn't even mention one of my favorite things about these dirty cops is the score does that boom, boom. There's this weird.
Every time you see them,
there's this weird. It's like a Peter and the Wolf situation where there's this weird bell sound. It's like it's a very disturbing kind of like atonal bell, boom, boom, and it's very disturbing. But I love it. And it's like, and it's very much like whenever you hear that, the cops are around.
Yeah.
And so that happens. He sees the pitcher's in trouble. Billy realizes something's wrong. They run up the stairs.
I thought he said Victor's in trouble.
Pitcher's in trouble. Pitcher's in trouble.
Oh, I thought he said Victor's in trouble.
No, pitcher. Who's Victor?
I don't know.
Okay. Pitcher's in trouble. And so they run up, and then that music, boom, 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 boom. It's so catchy.
It is.
And then he runs up the stairs onto that floor. they run, and the cops are like already. They got a pillow over the doctor's head, and they cut in on the room, and one of the dirty cops, the older one's got a pillow over his head, and he's like turning off the gas that or whatever. And so Michael Keaton runs up. They ask where the John Doe is. They go down a room like whatever it is, 5A or whatever. And the younger cop's out. James Remar's outside the door. And I love he's like, room's closed. And I can't remember what the thing is here, but basically he sucker punches James Remar and gets him out of the way. Or like, I guess maybe Remar shows him his gun. I don't know what happens. I can't
he's
remember.
Like, step aside. Yeah, whatever.
And he punches him, or he takes the gun and hits him in the face or something like that.
It's so
and then they burst in the door. They're like, what are you doing? And the older cop.
Does the other guy just like run away?
No, he's shocked, and Keaton just throws him out of the way, and he just runs out the door. And then after they realize,
the nurse gets in.
Keaton runs after to chase them. Meanwhile, the nurse comes in and thinks these guys tried to kill the doctor. And then they're like, call security. They're like, and they all run out. And so they're running out as well now.
Yeah.
And then
I wrote down that they run like penguins. I don't even know why they're all like,
it's like they all have the
so
different
awkward.
like, honestly, and again, great characters. They're all such great actors in this, and they all have such specific characters that are written, but also just the physical. Like if you think Christopher Lloyd, like in Back to the Future, and how wild of a place he is, and here he is the most buttoned down. He doesn't ever he never moves.
His
barely
arms are
any
to
limbs.
the side. Like
Peter Boyle's like kind of all over the place, and and Stephen First just like he looks like a turtle. He's got his shoulders up all the time. He's like a adorable little teddy bear.
It's like shuffling along.
And he shuffles. They all they're so well drawn and specifically acted. They do a really great job. So they're running down this hospital hallway. The nurse thinks they tried to kill him. Billy finds out. He runs out and he sees just as the guys are pulling away. He's like, hey! He goes to the security guard outside the hospital. He goes, stop those guys! They tried to kill a patient inside. He's like, what are you talking about? They're cops. He goes, they're cops,
Yeah. And then I have next that he calls the hospital.
That's right. Then they're all the payphone because they realize like they're in serious trouble now, so they call the doctors. This is great.
What does he say? Something like, I heard it's chicken chow mein tonight.
Oh, well, that's at the end. Yeah. But it's great. They call, and like they call the head guy's getting
William.
on, and the two other idiot doctors get on. And what's so great, and this is great conflict and good writing in this, and that is that like they're like, listen, we're in the city. The doctor's been knocked out. He's at the hospital and he's wanted for murder, but these two cops are behind it. And then it's like the doctor puts his hand over the thing. He's like, that's Billy Caulfield, like, paranoid delusional or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like everything any of them say, they're just like, no, they're crazy and this is their psychosis or whatever. And so, of course, the head doctor, who's like the worst guy, he's like, oh, that's very interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Why don't you stay right where you are? Hey, I heard it's chicken chow mein tonight. I just love it in the cafeteria.
Don't you, Billy?
It's the most condescending. It's the most condescending, awful thing. God. And as they do, they hear the cop. They hear the sirens, and so he realizes, they've sent the cops, so they run away from the thing. Yeah. And then they pull another guy who was at the payphone next to them. The cop pulled this guy off the payphone.
And they like throw him up against the.
He's like, honey, I'll be. They throw him against the wall, and then they realize like they're on the run, and they're like absolutely freaked out, and they don't know what to do now. And then just at the moment, Jack runs into an old exec pal, which is great.
Pop, fizz, or what a relief it is.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Tom. Jack, how are you? He's like, so how are things going? Not too good, Tom. We're on the run from the police. Oh, for what? Attempted murder. Well, that's not fun. And he said, we really should get together again, Tom, sometime. And then like that, they kind of move along there. And then we're back to the dirty cops, and they're told that Alvarez was found in the same alleyway as the doc. And so the patients are now the suspects in the Alvarez crime. And the dirty cops are like, it's time for the dirty,
Yeah.
They now realize this is how they're going to get rid of him. They'll pin these guys, and they're off the hook.
This is when we meet
They just got to kill the
soon.
doc in case he wakes up.
Anyway, they go to Riley's place.
And they
meet Ed.
Yeah.
Ed. So they walk in, and I don't know what's happening.
Well, Billy goes off and talks to Riley,
yeah. and then they're wandering around.
Jack, and they're all there looking at random stuff. Ed comes in, and he's just got that. I feel like does he have
That's Ed's breakfast.
That's right.
Because Albert immediately jumps in and starts buttering a bagel.
Albert, that's Ed's muffin or eggs breakfast or whatever it is. Yeah. And then Ed comes in. He's like, hi. What are you guys doing here? And then there's a great shot of the three of them there. And Christopher Lloyd just turns and he goes, hi, Ed.
What does he say? We're here for your son.
We've come for your money. He goes, oh, I get it. Oh, this is one of Riley's acting group. And he goes, yes, Ed, this is our group.
Henry. Which is funny because it was almost like he really knew that he was tricking him, but I don't think he did. He's like, this is our group.
Oh no, he had no idea.
I know, but it worked so well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well. It's a fun little scene. It's fun in there. He has some quote where he goes, I believe you, Ed. And I can't remember what it is that he says, but it's something, it's like, oh, people will never believe it. I believe it. Ed.
Was it about the piece of art? Probably. Something about the cost of the art. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because he's pointing, because Jack's looking at the art. And he's like, oh, you like that? You have a good eye for art. And he's talking about whatever this artist is, this sculpture that he's got. And it's like some crazy thing. And he's like, oh, man, the cost is now, these things are going for so high. You would never believe it. I believe you, Ed. It's just, he just speaks in therapy terms all the time. It's so great. And then of course the news is on, and then on the news. All their pictures come up, and they're wanted for the attempted murder of this doctor.
And then you just see him pick up the phone.
Immediately, he's on the phone, calling 911. Billy throws him up against the window.
I don't think you want to do that, or whatever.
Yeah. And then they go to the. This is a good little detail. So they're gonna run out. They run out of the thing to get away, and they're touching the elevator button, and Mug Keaton's touched the button, it's not going. He's like, come on. And then Jack slowly reaches out and lightly presses the button. It's like ding, and it opens up.
I don't remember that.
Is a great little. There are a couple. I think there are a few things like that where he does something, and it's very, very magical. Things that happen. They get down. There's this ancient doorman with a gun because Ed had called and told him to not let these guys out of the thing, and Riley's pissed at him for that. They get off the elevator, and Ed is called down, and he's like, don't move.
He's got the gun pointed at them.
Mr. Ed told me to hold you, or whatever the guy's name. He's like, what are you doing holding the gun? He's like, they told me to hold you. And he's like, what do you do? He's like, well, who are you? He's like, I'm the doorman. He's like, well, get us a cab. And it confuses the old doorman enough. He turns around, Keaton takes the gun and slides it away from him, and they run out. And as they're running out, they're going to get away, but Albert realizes he dropped his hat. So he runs back in as the cops arrive, and they come in, and he comes out, and they tackle Albert, and Keaton sees it and runs back, and he tackles a cop.
Oh, that's right.
And then he gets arrested, and they get hauled off to jail, and that's why Jack and Henry split up.
Okay, and Jack ends up going
But you see already there, he went after Riley said, you be there for those guys.
And he went for Albert.
He goes back, and now he goes back to save Albert. And you see, as his character is arcing and growing up,
Yeah. McDermott goes to the office.
He goes back to the ad agency.
What's the guy?
Murray.
Murray.
He's like, your lunch is here. So the guy that he ran to on the street. His secretary comes in. He's like, your lunch date is here, and he's like, or your lunch appointment is here, and he's like, lunch, it's 3:00. And she goes, I don't think he cares. And then he comes in, and then so he's shown in, and he's like, oh hi. He's like, oh hey there, Jack. He's like, hey Tom. He's like, I've come to tell you something. A story, a story about murder. And then
that guy's just so
there's
dismissive.
a little bit of backstory given about how Jack apparently tried to throw some guy named Murray out of a window back in the day.
And that's how,
And that's partly why he was thrown out of the agency.
And then Murray comes in.
And then Murray comes in a few moments later. He's this tiny little guy with glasses and a mustache, and he's like, oh, and Tom's like, oh, hey, Murray, you remember Jack?
He's like,
And he goes, hey, Tom, I was wondering if you heard from Matachi yet? He's like, no, I haven't heard yet. And he fills Jack in on there's a big Matachi account that's coming that they're waiting to hear on. Huge, big money, and they're waiting to hear on that. And then very shortly after that, cops come in, and he's escorted out, and Tom's like, sorry, Jack. And he's like, oh, it's all right. And he leaves, and they're at the elevator waiting. Yeah, I just love this so much. He sees Murray, they're all waiting. He goes, and Murray's like very happy. He's being carted away. And he's like, oh, Murray, congrats. He goes, what? He goes, oh, well, I was in there. Tom just got the call. You got the Matachi account.
And he's like,
he goes,
we got it.
We got it. Oh, we got the account. We got it. He's jumping up and down.
He looks like a Tasmanian devil.
And then the cops and him Jack are in the elevator. Hey, Murray. Just as the doors are closing.
Just kidding.
And Murray's face drops as his door closes. wah, wah, wah. Such a great moment. Oh, and then it cuts from all that to Henry going home. And like this, like the very sappy, but effective, like sad piano music. Do, 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 do. And it really is, I have to say, this movie takes like a weird turn right here, like right into your heart. You're just like, really, he goes up. And what it is when, because we know that his wife,
we know that she's been mailing him letters.
We know she's been mailing letters. And also, I have to say, I forgot earlier on right before the doctor comes to his room and says we're going to go to the game, he's looking at a picture
of them. He pulls it out of his drawer.
We know he's got a wife and daughter, but this guy is so messed up. Like he's so far into his, problem that when he comes to the door, this little girl answers it. And it's like, and she looks at him and then just immediately kind of like runs off.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, it's so sad.
And he seems like he doesn't know them at all. And
he walks in, it's like completely foreign to him.
Totally disassociated from them.
And this wonderful actress who like, she like the daughter sort of drags her into like far back in the frame and sees her and she just kind of like stops and comes and hugs him.
Yeah.
And he's stiff and doesn't know what to do. And it's really like, it's a very lovely little scene and it's so sad. And then there's a little bit of business about like he needs money. He's got to save the guys. They're depending on him and she gives him whatever money she's got in the place. And meanwhile, the daughter comes up and she shows him a picture of something and he's
really
like,
sweet.
This is lovely or whatever. And she goes and looks at his clipboard and goes, can I have that for my drawings?
Oh, yeah.
And he has this very just lovely thing where it doesn't really take him that long to do it. He thinks about it for a second, then he gently unclips everything.
Which like meant so much. The clipboard was like,
it's a part of his. It's a part of his whole psychosis.
Like, thank you, Daddy.
And it's like, which is a really nice moment. And it's a part of his whole problem, and he unclips it and literally gives a part of him away, and like which is a sign to moving forward or whatever. And he clips her picture in and gives it back to her.
And I love what he says. She said, "Why didn't you open my letters?" And he said, "Because I thought I'd lost you, and I was afraid to find out." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh,"
which is great because early when you see them in the meeting, he's like, "I don't want to talk about it."
Well, then
and you don't know why.
But now that he knows she's not leaving, like I think he actually has a chance. Like when he gets back, he'll be like, "All right, now I need." Well, then, she's still there, like, oh. Well, then so
also
sweet.
The tear-jerking thing is then she's like, then the daughter's like, when are you going to come home
and live with us?
And live with us, Daddy? And he's like, do you want me to?
Aww.
And it's just so sweet. Oh.
Yeah, it is really nice.
See the tears?
See the tears.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
Henry goes outside with a brief. Oh yeah.
The end of the dirty desert. Stop it!
He throws the grenade. Stop it! Oh,
Trini Lopez. Oh God,
Victor Garber is so great. Brief. It's a brief and simple scene, and but it's a comedy, and it deeps it dips into the heart there, and so the last moment he leaves, and just before he leaves, he looks at he runs his finger along an edge to check for dust, to remind you, it's like, okay, you can laugh again, everybody.
Remember that picture Keelan drew of you, where it just says blah 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 guitar. Drums, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I'm going to get that on a coffee mug.
It's accurate.
I have a thing where I can print on coffee mugs.
Nobody cares. Henry tries to get them out.
I love it. He ends up, he tries to get them out and then he ends up in jail too.
He's walking off with a cup. He's like, thank you for making this time for me. We're on a tight schedule. He's like pretending to be the doctor, and the cop's like, no problem, Doc. He opens the door, puts them in, locks the door. He's like, what's the problem? He's like, oh, no problem at all, Doc, and then walks away.
You can't steal my favorite line in this.
What was the favorite line?
I'm just letting you know you can't steal it. Anyway, they're starting to melt down, and Billy's like just unraveling on each of them.
We're not even there yet.
We're in the jail.
Not there. We're not there yet.
They're in the jail.
They're in the jail, and then we find out the dirty cops say the doc is coming around, and then somewhere in there, yes, Billy throws the mattress down.
Yeah, he's freaking out, and then he says to McDermott something about making license plates at jail or something.
Yeah.
But then Albert goes, working with metal. Next on Mr. Fix-It.
He goes, you're going to be the first supreme being to be making license plates in jail or something like that.
Working with metal. Next on Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and you.
Yeah. You're too damn scared to be. Is that who it is? You're too scared to be a real person. He insults all of them individually.
Yeah.
And then and he goes and leans against the bars, and right then a cop says, you got a visitor, and then he leaves. And then it's Riley. She's come to see him. It's a great moment. She's waiting there on the other side of the glass. He sits down from the other side of the glass and he goes, "Didn't this place used to be blue?"
You're thinking of the other precinct.
Yeah. And then at somewhere in the scene, she says, "You're not a street fighter anymore, Billy. You're a den mother."
Yeah.
Which is a great line.
He tells her the whole story and she's like, "I actually believe you," basically.
Yeah.
And
they have this moment where she's come to basically apologize. Obviously, she's ditched Ed, and she's coming. She's like, "How can I help?" And he goes, "Look, there's these dirty cops. I know it sounds crazy, but these dirty cops are going to kill the doc. You got to go there and you got to warn him." And so he sends her on this mission. And I always love this too. I should have used this as a quote game, and I completely forgot. But it's like they do that thing where like they're going to kiss through the glass.
Yeah.
And so they go to do it, and then they kind of stop, and they both rub the glass to like, because it's obviously probably
dirty.
filthy, and other people have kissed the guy, and they go to kiss, and then the cop bottom's like, "Come on, you're breaking my heart."
Yeah.
And Keaton walks by him and goes, "Stop busting my balls," or whatever. And then they bring Keaton back to the cell. Is this the part where you wanted to say something?
That was the one, working with metal and Mr. Fix-It. I really like that. But does he walk right in and Albert walks up to him right away?
He comes back to the cell and he says something to that again or whatever.
Some smart ass thing. And
Anyways, then Albert just gets up, walks over, leans into his ear, whispers something, comes back and sits down. And Keaton just looks at him and he goes, he says, "Did he just say something to you?" He goes, "He just called me Batarasis." And then he walks over rushes over to Albert, and Albert's like, "Ah!" And he grabs him.
"You're right. I am Batarasis."
And he kisses him, and he's like, "You're right. I am Batarasis." He talked. Do you see? He's like, "You guys know what this means? We're getting better." I love that line too. We're getting better.
Yeah.
We're getting better. And then they get all psyched and they're like, "We're getting better. We're a team again. They're the dream team again."
They all do like the hand.
Not yet. No, not yet. So then, right, they get moved. The cops and the doctors have come.
The admin from the hospital have come and they're like leading them out.
Yeah, and they lead them out. They're leading them out to a van. They're going to be transferred back to some psychiatric
Sunnybrook
ward
or something. I don't even know what it's called.
It's not their place.
Oh,
I don't think, right? Because
it's the one where they end
They're
up.
taken to a ward, and so they've clearly hatched a plan where Albert's going to say he has to go. So Albert has to go to the bathroom. He's like, "Ooh," and he's like, and he's handcuffed to Michael Keaton.
Smell like a litter box.
Yeah, and he's like, guys, you got to let him go. And he's like, "Can he hold it till we get to whatever?" And he's like, "No, you can, but it's going to smell like a litter box in there." And so they unhook Albert, and they're going to like hook to cuff Keaton to like a railing, but Albert grabs the gun from the cop.
Oh yeah,
and he's just like holding it. He ends up handing the gun to like, "Albert, get rid of the gun. Get rid of the gun. Give me the gun, Albert." And he goes to give it to Henry, and Henry wants the gun, and then Jack's like, "Yeah, give me the gun." And Henry's like, "No, I've got the gun." He's like, "I'd let you ride in the front."
Oh yeah.
He's like, "Well," and he gives him the gun, and then one of the doctors is like, "All right, Jack, would the Son of God would Jesus Christ ever turn a gun on someone?" And he goes, "Stay out of my psychosis."
Yes. I didn't write that down, but I
love
liked
that
it.
line. And then, so they trap all the guys, they put them in the back, they cuff them up, they close the door, then they all go for a high five, they all completely miss.
But did they do it on purpose? Because it's so perfect. That way they all miss. I think
They just
did.
all miss. They're just bad. And they all just
I can't high five. I'm not good at it.
What do you mean you can't high
I
five?
was just like, I'm not good at it.
High five me. Well, it was fine, but you did kind of like try to swipe away.
I'm trying to look.
You tried. I mean, this looks terrible. This looks terrible.
I don't know how to, I'm not good at it. All right. Anyway, so they
That
hold
was
the guards.
maybe the low point of my life. Yeah. So then of course they arrive at a psychiatric ward. They've switched clothing with them all.
Of course.
And they're bringing them in. They're like, yeah, they're a bit. They're delusional, and of course, all the doctors, cops are like, "Where the doctors? Where the cops?" They're like, "Oof, I don't know. You got, I might want to do 50 milligrams of Thorazine or whatever." And Henry's like, "I might go to 100 or whatever it is."
They just
upping their doses. They take them away. They get back in the van. They go to save the doc. Although. Oh, that's right. So they get to the hospital where the doc is.
Riley's in the hospital.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Riley goes into the elevator. That's right. She gets to the hospital, and she's like, "Where?" They're like, "Oh, level 5 or whatever." She goes into the elevator. She's like, "Hold the door." And she goes in the elevator. She's like, "Thanks." And then she's in there, and the door's closed, and it's on her. And it pans over, and you hear, "Doom, doom." As the two cops are there.
Yeah.
The dirty cops. So then the dream team pulls up.
And he's like,
he gets the gun from someone.
Well, they go in the hospital, and Billy gives him a pep talk, and he's like,
yeah. He basically is like, just keep it together. That's all we're gonna do. Don't act crazy.
No son of God, or like
except Henry. No, actually, Henry, you do your thing.
Yeah. There's a great part too where they're walking through the hospital.
I love this.
And he walks by Jack.
They're
McDermott.
being led to the hospital by one of the physicians.
And
in
against the wall, there's a gurney. There's a man laying there, and Jack goes, "Arise and walk, my son."
Yeah.
And you just see they
and
keep
they
walking,
continue on.
and then the guy gets up and just falls on the ground. All the nurses run to him.
And then also Henry does ask the doctor for an extra stethoscope and an ear light. He goes, "I love these things."
He gives it to him too.
So meanwhile, Riley's walking up to she realizes these guys are following her, and she realizes like these are the guys, and so she gets to the door. She doesn't know what to do, and this guy comes around. This like orderly comes around the thing, and he's like, "Hey, Dwight," or whatever his name is, because he's got a name tag. He's like, "Yeah, who's asking?" Whatever. She starts to be like, "Don't I know you? We used to date." He's like, "I don't know. Let me tell you something. Dwight so and so, it doesn't do this.
Born single, he's gonna die single, or something like that."
Yeah, some nurse was like, "Dwight so and so is gonna get fired unless he gets those tests down to whatever." And he's like, "All right," and then so he leaves, and meanwhile the cops have come back around the corner. She doesn't know what to do. There's like a weird.
She's trying to stall.
There's like a weird time jump here, where eventually at this very moment, they all show up. Like Michael Keaton shows up, they all show up, and the cops have disappeared again somehow. And so they all go into the room, and they see the doctor, and there's that kind of wonderful moment of like where the doctor's like looking at them, and he's like, "What's going on here?" And they're trying to explain, but without explaining, and basically just got to get in the wheelchair. We got to go. And he's like, "Who's this?" Is Riley, and he doesn't know who this is. And he's bandaged. They get him in a wheelchair. They get him outside, and it's like Albert's in the van pretending to drive, and then he sees the dirty cops pulling around in their car, and the guy's got the most. It's so great. He's got a silencer.
Oh yeah,
like a huge silencer on this handgun, and he's like very pointedly pointing it outside of the car and aiming in broad daylight with all these people around, and it's just so obvious. It's very, very funny. And Albert drives forward and crashes into the car.
Yeah,
gets everyone's attention. Riley takes off running with the doctor in the wheelchair, and like what is it? Henry, Jack, and Albert all like they knock out the other dirty cop who's pinned. Meanwhile, James Remar gets out with a gun. He starts chasing after the wheelchair. We don't know where Michael Keaton is. And it's that great music. Boom, 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 boom. And the crazy horns are going on.
I don't even remember what happens to the cops.
Well, the older guy gets knocked out right there. And then the young guy, he's running. He's chasing them through what seems to be a series of dumpsters or something, or cargo containers.
I don't even remember.
And Riley's got him, the doctor is pushing him in a wheelchair, and they come down between these two cargo containers, and James Remar steps out and with a gun. He's got them, and he's going to shoot them. And then Michael Keaton appears behind him with a gun to his head.
Yeah.
And I think this is where he has that line. I don't know if I actually wrote it down. Yeah. Where the cop's like, he's like, "You got to put that gun down or I'm going to shoot. I'll shoot the girl." And he's like, "Go ahead. I got a lot of girlfriends." And he's like,
She's like, "Billy."
Yeah. And he's like, "I'm a New York City cop. Put the gun down or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm an escaped mental patient. I'm not impressed." And finally, the cop drops the gun, and they take the gun away, and they kind of like, it gets all wrapped up and everything. And she like hits Billy. She's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I had to tell him. I had to try. You thought I was going to shoot you, right? And he's like, "Yeah." They get it all wrapped up, and
does he hit him with the gun too, or no?
No, they just like, he's just there. It's just over, and like the cops are being taken away, and like all these other cops are going on and everything, and they're on the news. The news is all about it, and then it cuts to like the annoying doctors who got the switcheroo, and they're on Thorazine like drooling, watching the news.
Yep.
And so then it's all kind of over, and I guess he says goodbye to Riley, although I missed how that happens, but I don't know.
Well, he's like, he's gonna see her soon because they're out, and like he's like,
I guess
like, it looks good. Like it's looking good.
Right,
the doctor's like, well.
That's right. He goes, "That's right." He's like, she's like, "Hey, Doc, what are the chances I get to see him soon?" And Henry's like, "Well, I think the prognosis looks pretty good." That's what he's like. Yeah. "If you don't mind, Henry, I think I'll take this one." I would agree with my colleague. I think the prognosis looks pretty good. And so they drive back, and doctor's like kind of trying to catch up to speed. At one point, Albert leans forward and whispers something to Michael Keaton. And Weitzman's like, "Did Albert just talk to you?" And he goes, yeah. And the doctor's like, what? And so they go to drop the doctor off. And this part makes zero sense at all.
No, and he said they're playing 2 tonight. Albert said.
Oh, is that who? Did Albert say that?
He said they're playing 2 tonight.
He says Albert says they're playing 2 tonight. He's like, we still got $40 left. And then for some reason, Michael Keaton gets an insane accent right here. He goes, $40 to get us 4 in the bleachers and a couple of dogs.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's a really weird accent that comes up out of nowhere. And the doctor's like, are you talking about an unsupervised trip? He goes, you didn't do us a whole lot of good in the last one, Doc.
Yeah, he does kill it.
And the doctor just kind of laughs and he's like, all right, bye.
Yeah, the van, like he gets out of the thing, the guys help him out, and then he's like, bye. And I like that the orderlies weren't like,
the orderlies don't care. The orderlies just carry him. And he's like, hey, Bill. He goes, yeah, bring me back a dog, would you? And he's like, all right. And they drive off and like, that's the end.
That's it. But can I just say something?
What?
That bring me a dog is like
bring me a
OJ.
dog, would you?
That's like OJ.
What?
And people are like, you want to go get a dog? It's like, that's like saying you want some OJ? Just say hot dog.
For Dad?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, just say hot dog. Just say
orange
orange
juice. Dog. There are people that
it.
say za for pizza. Did you know that?
That's not real.
It's real.
That's not real.
People say it. I've heard it. It's unpleasant. I don't care for it. But yeah, I think this movie, like, it's a lot of fun. And we were saying before, like, there's holes all over this place, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't really matter because it's so much fun, and the characters are really great.
The
characters are great. It moves. Like, I don't think there's ever like a slow part of this movie. Like, it really feels like it clips along.
It moves. It's funny. It's sweet. It gives you a nice look. I mean, talking about like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's just a nicer, more human way to.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's in no way serious, and like they're really not.
No, it's definitely
they're definitely using like the whole like mental patients are crazy as like a funny backdrop for a comedy, but again, different time, and it was like they're not. I wouldn't say
they're such they're relatable characters, even though they're supposed to be so.
There's
so
nothing,
divergent
there's nothing
from
I would say
normal
really
people.
realistic about this kind of stuff, but it's like they're not mean about it. There are some movies where it's like it's pretty awful the way they talk about neurodivergence or anyone who's dealing with any actual real psychosis and stuff, and it's like they're not like you really love these people. They're all heroes, and you cheer for them, and they're excited, and it's great.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah. So I mean, do you have any final thoughts on it? And also we didn't talk much about Michael Keaton here, which I'm shocked. I thought you were just going to be drooling all night long.
No.
Do you find Michael Keaton attractive too? Okay, I wasn't sure.
What a silly question.
Oh well, I mean,
he's very attractive.
Okay.
No, I love Michael Keaton. This is just a stellar example of how fantastic he is. But I have a lot to say about him when we do the paper, which you need to watch so that we can do it.
Well, I wonder why. Why is it that you want to talk more about?
I don't know.
We should talk about The Game now, which is our esoteric quote game. Kind of the random quotes from movies that are well-known movies, but quotes from them that you may not know or like you wouldn't be like, oh, you know that great quote from that movie? You would never pick any of these.
I'm your Huckleberry. Yeah.
I mean, that's a great one.
Say when. No, we use it, but I'm saying like.
And so we do it, and we just have always done it throughout our lives. We've done it a few times in this episode where it just kind of comes out in normal conversation, but here's the gamified version of it. Do you want to start, or should I start?
I do.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have a bunch of quotations that you either you probably don't know the movie very well, or I already did them.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
So
I'll tell you if you did them already.
All right. He is quite the clothes horse.
Well, that's The Fugitive. Come on, give me a break. Are you kidding me?
All right, can I do a different one?
No.
Come on.
No. Inappropriate. How about
Fine, your turn.
Fine. This one's easy too. I'm in my prime.
What? Yours never sound...
Well, I didn't do the cadence. You'll know it immediately.
I'm in my prime.
I won't do the accent. I'll do the cadence first. I'm in my prime.
Why do you... how come you're better at this?
Really? How about this? Okay, here it comes. Are you ready? Are you ready? Here it comes.
No, I'm still not going to get it.
I'm in my prime.
Oh, God. Yeah. That's funny. We just brought up Tombstone.
I know. See? I told you.
All right.
I told you. As soon as you do the accent, and you know what it is. I'm in my prime.
Oh, that's sad. Well, these were the two lamest quotations we've done yet.
No, mine was good. You just gave up.
This is one I don't think you're
You
going to know, but
gave up.
oh boy, you must be one of the great minds of your generation.
Oh, man, I can hear that.
Really?
Oh, shoot. Yes, for sure, but I don't know what it is, but I could absolutely hear it. Boy, oh, boy, you must be one of the great... Oh, man, yeah.
You can get the voice, or you can get the next line.
Boy, oh, boy, you must be one of the great minds of your generation.
You want me to do the next line after it? I would be shocked if you got this. I always say that. Boy, oh boy, you must be one of the...
Is it a woman?
No. I bet he thinks he knows it, but he doesn't.
It's very sarcastic.
Boy, oh boy, you must be one of the great minds of your generation.
Right, very sarcastic. No? Mm-mm. No?
Not really.
Oh, it's real? Oh. Okay, what's the... Give me a...
You got a corky screw?
Oh, that doesn't help.
No.
What's...
Yeah, you're not going to get it.
I think I will. Because I know this line.
Really?
Yes, I for sure know this line.
Well, there's a voice that goes with it, but I don't think I could do it. I could try. Boy, oh boy, you must be one of the great minds of your generation.
It's an older... It's set in another time, right?
Well, it's from the 90s.
It's from the 90s.
It's from the 90s.
Boy, oh boy, you must be one of the great minds.
You got a corky screw?
Oh! What are they doing? What's the setting?
The guy that says it is doing something for the other guy, and he's like, how would I pay you in this way? And he's like, do you want a little advance? And he's like, boy, oh boy, you must be one of the great minds of your generation. Like, he's like happy with what he's given him. Like, yes, that's a great idea.
No, that did not help.
Nope.
I know this, though. I know this.
You got
line.
a corky screw?
I don't know that one as well, but I definitely know, boy, oh boy, you must be one of the great minds of your generation.
I can give you some lines from the movie.
Oh, that's just sad. All right,
you too can rule the world. You just have to crush everybody else first.
That sounds familiar, too.
Really? Should I just keep giving you lines from that movie?
What kind of movie is this? What genre is this?
It's like dramedy. It's more of like a drama, but it's like funny. It's set on... I can give you the set location.
Okay.
Harvard.
Oh.
Arise, fair Harvard, arise. You too can rule the world. You just have to crush everybody else first. Boy, oh boy, you must be one of the great minds of your generation. You got a corky screw?
I know this at Harvard.
He's giving him wine. He's paying him in wine.
I don't know.
Ready?
What?
With honors. See, I knew you were going to be like, you didn't see that movie. I
saw it once.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's weird because that definitely rings a bell.
You got a corky screw? It's such a good movie. Oh, She Sells Sanctuary is like one of the opening.
Oh, that song.
Oh, it's so good. And that's Arise, fair Harvard, arise. You just have to crush everybody else first, and then they play that.
It's weird that seems like I know that rings such a bell.
I remember watching that. Like, you were still living at home, I'm sure, when that came out, and so that's something I watched. I found out about that movie because of you. Like, you definitely watched that movie, liked it, and we saw it together.
I don't think With Honors is set in the 90s, though. Is
it? It's supposed to be set the 80s?
Oh, what am I thinking? No, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, it's definitely set in the 90s. But anyway. All right. Same chick as, was it Moira Kelly? Who's in The Cutting Edge.
And the original.
And in The West Wing, too.
West Wing.
What do you mean the original West Wing?
Well, because they cut her character.
Yeah.
How about this one? It's a bit like camp.
It's a bit like camp.
You'll get it. I have after a few clues. I'll do the cadence for you, and then I can explain it if need be. I think you'll get it.
Okay.
It's a bit like camp. He's writing a letter.
Oh my God. Big. It's a bit like camp. They say I'll get to go home soon. Oh my God. Oh, I can't believe I didn't get that. Good imitation though. Oh man.
What's scattered pictures?
Scattered pictures. After
Like the corner of my
memories, like the corners of my mind, misty watercolor memories. And she's like,
It's a bit like camp.
oh my God. That's like when he eats the fish. He's like, which also he does in the Burbs.
Didn't make that connection until right now.
I didn't either.
Does he do that in other
Beluga.
movies? Does he do that in other movies that I'm
No,
unaware
but he
of?
does take. He has a weird
It's
thing.
like
so
Brad Pitt's always eating in
he's
every
got-
movie. Is he always choking on fish? in
he's
every
got.
movie?
Well, yeah. So in You've Got Mail, he scrapes all the caviar off the dish, and she yells at him. She's like, "That caviar is a garnish," and he's like, "Yeah." So Tom Hanks and fish. It's a thing.
Tom Hanks and fish. Maybe is a thing on all the.
Well, he does live on
shrimp
a Greek
this,
island.
Shrimp that. Shrimp this.
Oh my gosh.
He lives on a Greek island.
Well, Antiparos. Sorry, Mr. Hanks.
What?
Antiparos.
What the heck's that?
It's an island.
In Greece?
Yeah, Mom and I went there.
You went to visit Tom Hanks on his island?
Well, I was hoping I'd see him.
Does he live on an? He lives on an island in Greece?
Well, Rita Wilson is Greek, I think. I would say I'm giving too much information, but I'm pretty sure People Magazine has this covered.
I'm pretty sure if you know it, it's out there.
TMZ.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead. This is your third one.
I know, because you weren't being fair. Come on, man.
I'll tell you what. I just put one together the other day. There were 8. Yeah, you snuck them by me.
I'm not going to read that one, even though I love it.
Okay.
All right. She was given to fits of semi-precious metaphors.
Whoa.
You're not going to get that one. Damn it. I should have used a different one. Can I switch it?
Yes.
Really?
I don't even know that one.
Boss got a bogey.
Oh, it's Top Gun, right?
Nope.
No.
Boss we were talking about it the other day.
Boss got a bogey. I just heard bogey. I was like, Top Gun. No. Boss, that's not Top Gun. Boss got a bogey. Is that how it was said? Boss got a bogey. Is that how it was said?
Boss got a bogey. Although I just realized I thought it was in something that it's not. Now I know what it's from.
Oh, that's fun.
And I think you told me you haven't seen this movie.
What? Why don't you try to give me one from the thing you thought we were talking about the other day?
That was it. We said it, and then we thought it was from something else, and then I was like, "Oh wait!" And I thought it was. I thought it was from Twister. It's not from Twister.
I never saw Twister.
What?
Never saw it.
Why I gotta be stupid like
Or
that?
Twisters.
I want to just Twister. It's so good. So good.
Did I say on here about? Did I say this about It Follows?
No.
My favorite title that I think they really It Follows. You know, is that horror movie that came a few years ago? They're calling it. They follow is the new one. I say that is they missed their chance to say It's Follow.
You laughed the first time. I
It's
still
so
don't get
dumb.
it. I don't get it.
Like multiple it's
I don't like it.
follow.
No,
I know
it's not
because it's so
funny.
stupid, but that's why it's so funny.
No.
I don't appreciate your lack of sense of humor for my bad sense of humor.
Really? What about my funny video you said wasn't funny at all? Fine. Boss got a bogey. You haven't seen the movie.
Is it Twister?
No.
What is it?
It's Contact. Also a fabulous movie.
I've read that.
Oh, I read
that.
I read books. No, just kidding. Fine, that's great. So we did a game where I had 2 quotations. I'm going to read my other one. Well, the last one you would get right away. I've got gum on my seat.
Gum.
Gum.
Yeah, Speed.
Shoot.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I actually could have just used that.
I love that when the bus does that jump and it's like it cuts and it's like a 500-pound guy who's in a Sandra Bullock wig driving the bus when it
Really?
who does that stunt. It's so funny. He's just this huge husky dude. It's amazing.
This is a great example of how I tried to mimic you when I was a kid, just like putting my cereal in the freezer, thinking it would make the milk cold, but my cereal melted. Anyway, we were watching Speed. She hits the baby carriage full of cans.
Oh yeah.
And she
Yeah.
she starts screaming, and you were like, "Oh, she did that so well." You said something about it, and then we watched it. I don't even know if it was years later, and I was like, "She does this so well," and you were like, "God."
I mean,
I just stole it right from you. I did it
I don't
all
remember
the time.
ever saying anything about
Do you remember?
that
Do you remember
moment.
how we both used to go? Tss.
Yes.
And
that was annoying.
I know. We would be like, oh, it's all
what?
the time. I don't know.
It was
like a
weird
tick.
nervous-
It was like a tick. But we both did it, and I don't know why. Other than I was probably imitating you. I'm not sure what it was, but then you were like, you got to stop doing that. And I was like, what? It was really hard. It's like saying like, where you would be talking to Dad. Like, hard. You said like 36 times. It's hard. I've gotten back into that, by the way.
Saying like?
Can you give me another one?
No.
You didn't. You only gave me 2.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, I thought I was lying.
Chevy Nova.
Chevy Nova? Why don't I ever know any of these? Cadillac Eldorado? That's what I drive.
That's what I drive.
That's what I drive. My cars shift themselves.
Oh my gosh.
They're luxury cars. They shift themselves.
Much.
I love that scene though when he sees her in the diner and he just starts talking to himself and then he tells and then later in the bathtub he tells the story about take a picture. It'll last longer. It's so sweet. God, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen because the ending is so unexpected.
I haven't seen it in a long
But
time.
I tell people to watch it because I'm like,
Buffalo
even
66 is what we're
if
talking
you
about.
ever think it, I'm like, just watch it. If you think it's weird, just wait till the end because it's so.
It is weird.
It's
a very
so,
weird
I was
movie,
like, but you
and
gotta.
it's a super.
But the end is the last thing you'd expect, and it's so simple and so like, oh, okay, it's cool. Anyway, Chevy Nova.
Chevy Nova.
I don't know what any of these are, Josh.
So the line immediately before that is Bossa Nova. Chevy Nova?
He's British.
No, that's
Australian?
not British at all.
Australian?
What?
What accent was that? Bossa Nova.
It's like, dude.
Oh. Is it Bill and Ted? Because I didn't watch that.
No.
Point Break? I don't friggin' know.
No.
Is it Wayne's World?
Here's the music from it.
I don't know. No idea. What is it?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, God. I've seen that movie like once.
What? Really? You talked about it the other day.
I loved it, but
That's the only reason I brought the only reason I chose something because you brought it up the other day, so I was like, oh, she must know this one.
I loved it, but because I used to play with my friend, and I was April, and we used to play that in her basement with her brother on Maple Hill Road.
There you go.
That's why I loved it.
There you go.
But it was so long ago.
Oh, okay. Look, you brought it up the other day, so
no,
I thought...
it's good. It's good.
So I thought maybe.
Like, and that's the real one. That's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was great. I'm glad that we talked about the Dream Team and watched it. It was good fun. It was fun watching it again.
It was. It's one of the greatest movies. And I remember watching that when we were young and hanging out. And I'll always remember... woman, don't the dream is out me. You're the beautiful woman. Oh, yes, if you say so. I bet you $1 million if we had put that on last night while we were driving home with Mom in the back seat, she would have done that.
Oh, for sure.
All right, we'll have to give that a shot next time.
Yeah.
When she's not raging.
Maybe when she's trying to do the directions and she's talking over, we'll just put that on. She'll be like, oh, woman, oh, woman, oh, baby.